Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone this evening? My name is Bruce, and we are discussing the wonderful movie Romeo and Juliet for this somewhat seminal version of a girl, a guy, in a movie. Jackie Blue, how are you tonight? Miss Janet from Another Planet is the second one in chat. Janet, how are you this evening?
I'm good.
Excellent.
How are you?
I had a day. I had a day. My boss and I had a discussion about it because he didn't want to talk about it Friday. So today I did a successful bombing run. As before he got the keys in the door, he asked me how my weekend was. I said, I've been wanting to talk to you since Friday. Well, let's go on and talk. Okay. And he's like, what are you going to do? Quit? And I said, actually, yeah. And he's like, I'm surprised you haven't done it before.
That's it?
And I said, okay. And then he calls me in his office about 40 minutes later. I'm ready to go. Let's get going. Come on, let's do this. He's like, I don't want you to leave. I said, well, I didn't want to leave at first, but whenever they gave me the opening offer of $85K, I mean, I that's $30,000 more than what you give me, and you're telling me that I've got to like level up and do things to your specifications before I get your $85K. They're just going to give me $85K for walking in the door day one. Do you see where you're missing the boat here?
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of got upset, and I said, and it's nothing else but the money. And he's like, well, we can get the money here. I said, no, we can't, because you're going to put stipulations on things, and I have to level up in your aspect. I'm doing really good. I've been giving you at least $700 per customer. If I have a customer that takes me over 2.5 hours, I manage a $1,200 or more receipt on it, or extra work totaling more than $2,500. So don't tell me that I don't deserve the money. But you've just been chintzy the whole time, and it's not just me, it's your trucks. And that really didn't go over well. And then he's like, well, think about it, because tomorrow I'm going to tell you the same thing. I don't want you to leave. So anyway, you and my chat tonight, you guys really are doing me wonders, because my personal life is fine. My professional life is good, but I feel like I've leveled up to this glass ceiling where, yeah, I can see more money over here. If I walk in this other room under somebody else's house, there's no glass ceiling. I can reach all the money up there I want, and I can do what they need, which isn't too hard to do, including driver training, which is easy. Can you drive a stick shift? No? Okay, we're going to go on this little rock area, and we're going to practice until either your ankle and calves give out or you learn how to drive a truck, and I don't give a shit. So I've got a full pot of coffee. I've got a wooded area over there. I can get out of the truck and pee over there if I need to. But you are not going to leave here until you are a driver or you are quitting because you suck. And that's part of my job. Yeah. Anyway, eating the grilled cheese, says Soy-Based Jeremy. 6 Nations, 31 Kings. Hello, sir. We did not listen to Lizzo. I don't know who Janet had on, but I recognize the song. I just couldn't think of who the artist is because it's not.
It was the song "Sundown."
Okay.
By Gordon Lightfoot.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't supposed to have it on. I didn't know it was still on.
Hold up. In the green room before we go live, whatever you have to do to get yourself in a happy mood, you're good. You're golden, Janet.
Okay. So make sure.
You're always golden. You need to understand that. You've never made me or my family or my friends upset. Everybody seems to enjoy you where you go. And if I come back to a Monday and Janet is gone, she's doing something else with a bunch of other people, then hey, that's great. I hope Janet becomes big and successful, or at least infamous, because she pissed off the right people. One of those two.
We'll find out one day.
And he says, I was referencing a date over till the fat lady sings. I live in San Antonio, and Charles Barkley would love to walk with me and just pick out all the fat ladies to sing for us. Anyway, no, Charles doesn't like me. He doesn't hate me that much. He doesn't know I exist. Not on his radar. Okay. But we do have a lot of fat ladies in San Antonio. If you're a chubby chaser and you're alone, if you're lonely, come to San Antonio because we have all the chub for you. Now that I've driven off our our audience, our target demographic, people wanted to hear this. Hello, Jackie Blue. Hello, Soy Base Jeremy. Six Nation 31 Kings. Put chains on doors. Let them not get out of the auditorium. Okay, we're going to talk about this movie, a 1978 accurate version of Romeo and Juliet. Janet, when did you discover this movie?
When you guys talked about it.
What?
I had never seen it before.
Really?
So, yeah. I've heard people talk about all the different Romeo and Juliets, but I just never watched it. And I couldn't talk to my mom about it because she probably watched it, but she's not around. So, but I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was a beautiful rendition of Romeo and Juliet. And I thought it was tasteful.
When I first saw this, my English teacher, I don't know if he's a pervert. I don't care. He's dead now. Okay. I mean, he died in 2019. My high school English teacher, Paul Main, God bless you, sir. You were an amazing man. He introduced us to all manner of televised versions of Shakespeare. And we saw this movie. I was 14. So as a 14-year-old looking at Olivia Hussey, I'm already a geek. So when you have people dress up in medieval or Renaissance times, I'm going to be more positively reactionary. I'm going to have better feelings towards the show. Even if we're watching a dirt sword movie, a mud sword movie like Dragon Slayer, I love Dragon Slayer, and I love how they do everything in that movie. I love the scenes. I love the iconic look. I like how the uniforms and the outfits are just dirty, and you can feel the grime under all the fingernails. This movie's not nearly like that. It's kind of in a urban-esque area, and these people are elites. They're nobles, and so they don't really do all the dirty things. Although the kids, the kids are shitheads. But I really thought this movie, when I first saw this, I was like, wow, this is cool. And I wanted to think that there was so many things that were done right with this movie, just in the looks alone. This is filmed in a lot of various parts of Italy. IMDb.
You can definitely tell through the whole movie that I don't think a single thing in this movie was filmed on a soundstage. They did
a couple scenes on sound stages.
They did? Well, you can't tell. That's what I mean. Yeah, they all seem very authentic, like they were all filmed inside of actual homes, outdoors, by the water, in the streets. Just everything about that just seemed very realistic. When the horses came out and stuff, it almost sounded just like you could hear the clippity clop of the hooves and not have them been fake. Just little things like that. And then when they were doing the fencing, sword fighting, whatever you want to call it, the sound effects with that, the actual fights, the way that they fought in the streets, it's amazing to me watching it and really trying to pay a lot of attention to it with so many extras in it. There were so many of them. They were just all over each other. It was amazing to me that not one person, from what I could read or find out researching, was injured.
I didn't see an injury report anywhere.
So that was amazing in itself, with so much action going on in the street brawls and stuff. So that was exciting. the fights amongst young teens, basically, because that's what it seemed like. And I could just imagine over and over again how bad everybody smelled. You know, a lot of people didn't realize that when they usually wore the same outfit every day. I mean, because that's all they had. Most people didn't have 20 outfits.
No.
And they did a very good job at showing the parents, even the Montagues and the other family, with the same attire on. Their hair was fixed differently, things like that. But they pretty much wore the same underskirts and things like that. And what the young Juliet was wearing when she was out, when she first sees Romeo, those special bustier type things were basically what women wore as a bra, because there weren't bras back then. So I can imagine, how not very attractive most of the women looked as they aged, never wearing bras. I don't know why that popped in my head, but why we were watching it, and some of them were, doing some of the stuff in the streets, because you didn't see a lot of women. You mostly saw the women
inside, indoors,
shopping. They were shopping in the little thing, but they ran inside, and the only one you really saw that I really saw that was frightened was the woman that had this small baby that she was running through at the very first fight, the very beginning, from the market.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did a very good job at having a mixture of colors in the crowd. That's one thing I've noticed in a lot of the movies that they make, it seems today. It's very humdrum, a boring mixture of muted colors in so many of the movies that they make. But that's very impressive. So
we'll be painting
you're going to start painting it.
Yeah, this one here is for commission.
But the vibrant colors that he used on so many of the characters in the movie, and the colors of the court jester outfits, basically, because that's what they look like, with the pants and the little jackets, the little vests with the rope around the waist,
mm-hmm.
And the little cups on all the boys or all the males.
You need the cups. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I know, but they all looked very authentic for some of the things that I looked up for attire, for a certain scale of people with their employees, because they wanted people to know that they afford, work helpers, houseboys, maids, all those things. So I thought it was really cool. And the heavy clothing that a lot of them wore, and most of it probably was wool and linen, things like that, the veils and the head scarves like the women used to cover their hair, things like that. And the ties, because you saw a lot of the dances and stuff, how the women had these like little rope ties roped over their hair, things like that. So you got to remember that they didn't wash all this stuff. And some of it was washed. It was probably washed once or twice a year. So everything had to have a lot of smell. So remember I said a lot of this when we watched Rob Roy about the bathing habits, the hygiene habits for the normal everyday street people. So a lot of people was probably really rank, if you think about it. So I just thought that they did a very good job, at least the director did, and the set designer, the costumers, and the props, and the person who did the research to find out where they wanted to film each of the scenes, like the courtyard right outside of her balcony from her room. With the ivy and the trees. And I'm sure that the one tree that he kept climbing up to get to the balcony was a prop that was put there simply for him to climb up and down. It just did a very good job at making everything look so authentic to me.
This movie looks so freaking organic. I was so impressed with this film. Just the look of it in and of itself. This is probably... As far as looks are concerned, the set design here, I mean, obviously Star Wars would like to rank as high as this in set design. I think Star Wars is great. I think it really is. But the only movie that for me really captured the iconic look of a setting like this after this was made in 68 would be 1982's Conan the
Mhm.
Barbarian. That's the only other movie I can think of when I was watching it. I just fell in love with where they filmed it. That's the only thing, like, that blew me away watching this film and seeing all the various sets, all the manners, all the stair work. The boys are going up and down. Like, you're at the end of the day, I bet those kids were exhausted. Like they like, hey, we had an apple and then we took a nap. I'm pretty
Mhm.
certain there was a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, and plus you got to remember, people didn't eat as well in a lot of those areas as we do today.
Well,
And plus, I'm sure a lot of people had very strong immune systems for eating food that was out for days. Today, if someone was to eat some of the stuff that they ate back in that period of time, they'd probably die of ptomaine because their body hasn't built up the bacteria they need to break down the bacteria they're consuming. You know what I mean? So, and they're just, that in the washing of hands and just all the things that we have today that they didn't have back then. Now, one thing that I thought was very good was how clean everything looked.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the books and things that I read, it talked about the feces in the streets, and they'd have like this, they'd have streets that went along the cobblestone, and then they had the little like V cut out in the center for urine and other things to go down the middle of the road. So, just little things like that. It just looked, to me, it just looked very authentic.
This movie nails the authentic aspect of it so well. Like I said, the only movie that came close since then would be the first Conan the Barbarian, because they filmed a lot of that on location, and I couldn't tell you where. I'd have to look that up. But that is such a organic looking film in 1982. There are certain movies I can just watch and I can just be sillily entertained because you want to just step into the screen and be part of it. Blade Runner's one, but Blade Runner's not enjoyable. That's not an enjoyable world. Okay. This movie's won very easily, and Conan the Barbarian, I would like to just try that for a few days and just see if I could like catch my own fish and survive outdoors for a little bit. Try that thing they call camping.
You would starve. You would starve.
I might.
I hate to say that, but you'd need someone skilled at using bait and things, because you can't just throw a line out there with nothing on it. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing you.
When I was a kid, Janet, I used to grab your. All right, for you fucking psychology majors, here where you can start ripping me apart. When I was a young boy, if I was bored, I would go outside and find a few grasshoppers or crickets, rip off their back legs, and throw them in a spider web because I was bored. And that's just the sort of thing you do on a farm. If you don't have much else, you got a dog, but your dog, you walk it, you do 30 minutes with your dog, and your dog's like, okay, fuck off. I'm going to go lay down for a while. All right, fine. Let me go find some spiders and feed them for a while. And I do that. Albert Not a Retro says, Janet from Another Planet, Olivia Hussey said there's a lot of abuse on the production of the film. I tossed my DVD copy of it on the garbage.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but everything that I read about her saying this stuff was almost 50 years after she made this movie. And it's not a director or production company's fault if a actor or actress don't become successful after they make a great movie when they think they're going to be a star. And to wait that long to say that you were assaulted and stuff is kind of sad to me, because I don't know. I just don't think it was exactly what they were trying to say it was, because a lot of people don't realize when you film a movie and you have a two people that are lovers in bed, you have a boom operator, you have the cinematographer, you have the director, you have the script supervisor, and a few others. So there's at least 6 to 8 people in the room with the people that are supposed to be having sex in a bed. There's probably even more than that if they're making a porn. But in a movie like this, and I'm sure her mother should have been there, or her
mom was involved.
Assistant. Okay, her mom or whoever, her parent is usually on set, and maybe with the young actor there was someone, but I think he was 18, so I think he was of legal age. And you got to remember, in Italy, the age is lower, so I think it was 13 or 14 years old that you were allowed to do semi-nude, type things, or whatever to make movies over in what was it, in Italy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I want to say Tuscany, and the
sad fact is that it took 50 years for them to come out and say they wanted $500 million. To me, it's just far-fetched, and to wait that long is pretty sad, because if they really felt like it over the years and they were having traumatic experiences, they should have said something sooner so that someone else wasn't injured in the same way that they were. So to me, they either didn't come out and say anything because they didn't really happen, or the fact they didn't care whether anyone else was abused, or they just want money. I mean, that's how
what
I'm
I feel.
looking.
I feel it's a money grab.
So I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it's sad, the fact that they would wait this long to just grab for money instead of trying to do something right away, when they could have helped someone else from being abused from the same people that supposedly stood around and let them be assaulted.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
I got to say something. I just posted an item into the chat, and YouTube has partially blocked the statement, so let me read this all together. This was the first major movie production of the play to cast a leading actor and actress who are close to the ages of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Franco Zeffirelli needed to get special permission, and this is where YouTube has a problem, or StreamYard has a problem. They permission to show Olivia Hussey, who is only 15, topless in one scene. She is topless. She's got a sheet covering her nipples and areolas, and there's really not a whole lot you can see aside from her bare shoulders. I was there in the chat with you last night. We were watching this movie. This was just on at 11 o'clock on Turner Classic Movies less than a month ago. My mother recorded it on her DVR. So, I mean, it's not like this is Debbie Does Dallas or Ron Jeremy production. It's a fairly tasteful movie.
Yeah. How old was Jodie Foster when she made Taxi Driver?
13.
There you go. And that was a lot more sexualized, that movie, compared to this one. To me, this was two young lovers, and you could tell when they kissed each other on set and stuff that they were very awkward. Yeah. So you could tell that they were not very, they didn't know what they were doing, basically, that they hadn't done this a lot. And you got to remember, too, is that when they do this, there's a whole room full of people.
There was a whole room of people there, and
so it's not like they're by themselves. And if they were secretly being videotaped, then why are they on a set of a movie to make a movie? To me, it didn't make any sense. If they were in their hotel room and they decided to make Whoopi, and then they found that there was hidden cameras and stuff in there, then yes, I would agree that they should be able to sue. But when you're on the set, I went and looked at set photos. There was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, like 600 and something set photos on 4 or 5 different websites for this movie. And you see them in all different situations, from the movie, offset, the two young actors hanging out together and things like that. And they looked very comfortable with the director and everyone else, from what I could tell. They didn't act like too stressed out, crying. Like, I saw pictures from a few actresses. I think one of them was Shirley Temple. And she was crying in a few of them. And she had later said that she was, groped or coerced. And that's when her mother and her left that studio and went to another one. And her mother even admitted that she was approached by another man one of the directors or producers that wanted her to sleep with them.
I
for
want to say it was
favors.
Shirley Temple's experience that sparked Mario Puzo to write the entire horse scene in The Godfather. And I think that's why, that was the first time that somebody was actually making their mark. Like, hey, can we not fuck the kids? Can we not screw the kids up? Can we not, injure the people that have no capacity to say no? And that's just my own personal feelings on it. Maybe I'm out of the ballpark here, but anyway, so Franco Zeffirelli, he's a nice man. He directed this movie. He had to get special permission to show Olivia Hussey, only 15, topless in one scene, mostly covered up.
And he had to get permission from her parents.
Yep.
To even have her in the movie. Yep. So if they were going to be mad at anyone, I would be mad at my mom or my dad for pimping me out. The movie with the Blue Lagoon, remember that movie?
Brooke Shields.
Yeah, Brooke Shields, okay. Her mother let her be in the movie, but it wasn't her body that you saw. It was another person that had to be a stand-in for her for all the nude scenes and stuff, because the mother wanted to make sure she didn't have a pimple on her butt or anything. Okay, she had to be perfect. The actress that portrayed her in the nakedness part of this movie. So, and her mother was on set the whole time to make sure that anything her daughter did was in her consent. So what I'm saying is that parents have way more say back then and today than anyone seems to know. It's not like they just take your kid out of your arms and then cram them in a movie.
We're going to bring your kid back. It'll have rainbow hair.
Yeah, a set of twins or triplets had to play the children for babies or even young children for parts, because they were only allowed to be on film for a certain amount of time. That means they could only be on set for so many hours at a time to film. And that doesn't give you a lot of time to get things done unless you're completely focused on the child scenes at that time. So there's tons and tons of rules and regulations. But one thing I wanted to say about the director that I researched about is the fact that he wasn't a hobnobber. This wasn't a guy that hung out with all the other Hollywood elites. This was a guy that was simple. And when his vision that he wanted to portray was straight from the play. He wanted it as close to the exact story as possible. And he did everything in his power from the sets to the actress and the actor, all the extras, the set design, the clothing, everything. He wanted it as authentic as he could possibly get. And that's why he picked, what was the name of the actor that was in the movie? Darn it. The one with Sanctuary.
Oh, you're talking about Michael York. Michael York.
Yeah. He picked him too. He specifically picked him because he was ornery and outspoken for the character that he felt he would best portray in his movie. So, the director was very, very hands-on with every aspect of this movie, trying to make sure that it would come across like a Shakespearean play. Mm-hmm. The way they spoke, everything about it. And the director's job is to direct. So if he's in the room with you and you're like when the mother and the nursemaid and the daughter were all in the room together and they were talking about her first, about to be 14 and in 2 moons or whatever it was, which was a few nights away. And that the fact that she was going to be old enough to wed, and then the mother was trying to talk to her and the nursemaid was talking about how excited she was about her becoming a real woman, all these different things. And a lot of people don't realize that back then you were lucky if you lived to be 50. Okay. Because your lifespan was very short because you didn't eat the same food. The work was way harder. Things were just way different back then. You didn't get as much rest. There was just not enough water. You didn't remember the hygiene was very low. So a girl at 14, she was most likely already menstruating. So she was considered a woman, old enough to give birth. So to me, the whole thing of him trying to make it as authentic as possible, I thought he did a very good job. And I thought Elizabeth, what was her name again?
Olivia Hussey.
The actress.
Olivia Hussey?
Olivia, I called her Elizabeth. I'm sorry. Olivia was very quirky and innocent. She had a very innocent look on her face, the way she spoke, the way she kissed, and she was overly dramatic about, her holding his hand and throwing herself at him and all those things, because she was very immature. And I thought that was about the couple. The couple was very immature, so they definitely acted that way. And that authentic part of that is, to me, what made this movie so timeless, basically, when it came to the story of Romeo and Juliet. I just adored that part of it. They did an excellent job. He really wanted both of them to be in this movie because he felt like they were the movie. The movie is them, their story.
It's really hard to write teenagers because a teenager's emotions run really hot. Guys kind of have that continue into their 20s. Women kind of let it peter out the moment they can have like their first adult experience of drinking a beer. Guys will take anger, rage, and alcoholism till the early 30s, and they will still select alcoholism, although they tend to, like, after 35, they slow down a little bit, not much. Anyway, just to finish up this little bit here, the boy, Leonard Whiting, who is from Great Britain, he's 16. Legal age of consent in Britain is 16. And so Frank Zeffirelli did not need to have any permission. Italy, where this movie's made, has similar age laws, so that seemed to work out in their favor. Mm-hmm. I think this movie is fantastic in a lot of aspects. There's bigger problems on the horizon. I think this movie is going to have the same treatment given to it that every rendition of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer have had. I don't see William Shakespeare being loved for that many more moons because the blue hairs are in control and of public education, and the communists have been in control of collegiate education for way too long. When was the last time you heard a kid say, "I really loved Huckleberry Finn"?
I don't even know if they even get kids to read any of that kind of stuff anymore. So
well, when we were reading Huckleberry Finn, like Mrs. Goodner, she had a stern 5-minute suck the fun out of the air speech, and she's like, if any of you take any inflection of joy when you're reading Nigger Jim's name, then I'm going to rip you out of this class and take you to the principal. We'll go and discuss your involvement at the nearest minority center in Decatur, Illinois, and you will find your way to Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, and they will take you, and they will show you community service down there. And you whenever you had a passage come up, okay, well, here's Nigger Jim and Huckleberry, and that was it. You just read it like it was any other part because it's just words, it's vowels and consonants. Mm-hmm. There should be no burning Wendy's behind me. Mostly peaceful. I don't understand where people get upset about timeless classics, but this movie, I feel this movie is going to be targeted before too long because they're going to be upset because it has gendered roles. It has amazing gendered roles. The fathers of their houses in this movie are portrayed so well, and it feels like the measures which they go to try to orchestrate the activities under their rooftops. I see my own family whenever I would have a family reunion. I could see us as House Montague. We didn't have all the money in the world, but we had a lot of great cooks in our family, and we had a lot of damn people because our relatives love to fuck. And so, like, that was pretty much it. It's kind of weird that Montague only had that one child of Romeo, but I could see it, and I mm-hmm. saw that whenever I read this. Whenever we were told to read this book, my brain, oh, you're an only child. Romeo was an only child, so mm-hmm. it had a special part for me.
Mhm.
I never thought that. Yeah, I think suicide because things don't go my way at 15 with my wife is a good idea. I never thought that. I had bad ideas. I still have bad ideas, but I never thought that. And I thought this movie went very well with the story. And maybe things would have been a lot different because I'm not living in the Renaissance or steampunk or whatever you might want to call middle dark ages Italy. I'm not there. I'm a 20th century boy,
Mhm.
21st century man, and I'm pretty happy that I get to read this and I can judge it on my own experiences and I can make fun of 2024 modern audiences while I discuss this movie and other classics. There's too many people that are out there that would run this movie into the ground. And I'm sorry Olivia Hussey feels that she was shied away from the spotlight. I'd like to, before we cut back, I want to show you guys a movie that you can watch on on your own. There's a wonderful movie from the 1970s that
Mhm.
you can look up. I'll even put it in the chat for you. It's called At Earth's Core. And there's a woman who really didn't get a whole lot of love from Hollywood, but
Mhm.
Caroline Munro was in a movie when she was a very young lady. And I'm about to pull up her age. She's in her 70s, still doing the convention circuit. She's born January 16th, 1949. Amazing woman, just fantastic lady. But she's a little older than Olivia Hussey, and she never really developed a big fan base. She was in The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. She was in Slaughter High, The Spy Who Loved Me as Naomi.
She looks familiar to me.
Oh my!
I've seen some of her movies.
I would only hope so. I've watched damn near 2/3 of her films without even.
Oh, it's from Sinbad. I remember watching The Golden Voyage of Sinbad over 100 times.
This is one of my favorite movies because it's got Harryhausen in it. So of course I'm going to
Mhm.
watch it. But this lady never experienced her own manor. She never had manservants. She had makeup artists get her ready 30 minutes before a shoot, make sure her tits were presented nicely, and then off to the camera she went. And she was always tastefully done up. But if you so choose, you can go look at this wonderful movie called At the Earth's Core. It's got one of my favorite men in it, Peter Cushing. Doug McClure's the main lead. Caroline Munro's the female lead. And it's a great movie. It's a H.G. Wells film, but it's a silly little movie, and it's wonderful. She's from the same boomer era as Caroline Munro and
Well, can
Olivia
I
Hussey.
read something real quick?
Please go ahead.
That Albert wrote, Janet from Another Planet. Just looked it up. Part of the legal issue taken up by Hussey and her leading male co-star was that the film broke California child explanation laws. And have a good night. The thing is, what were the laws back in 1968 when the movie came out? Okay, we've seen many murderers and other criminals be arrested, right? In California, 20, 30 years after what they're getting convicted for, and they can only give them the time, that the laws were back when they did the crime, not today's laws. So that's what you'd have to look up and see what the laws were then in 1968 in
I don't have it.
California when the movie came out there. Because you'd think that if that was true, that California would be number one to come out and say, hey, you can't have this movie. It's not going to be released in California due to this. You know what I mean?
It would make no sense. Why
So
would
I
that?
was just wanted to bring that up so that he wouldn't think we were avoiding him. Because
No.
I'm not. I'm just trying to be as fair as possible
And
about
we don't run from controversy. We think that a lot of times controversy helps a movie out. Before we go further, Makani Draws, my brother from another mother, on Sundays. You can see me and him stream our various arts at 1 o'clock Central Standard, 11 o'clock Avocado time. He
it.
drops
Mm-hmm.
$2 for me. Thank you, sir. You don't have to, but leaving a like for my brother and Janet. Appreciate that, sir. He's a great guy. And if Makani is he's the only creator on YouTube that I know that actually gives you something for your memberships. Now, I don't have a whole lot of memberships I belong to, but if you have a monthly membership you drop to Makani, he emails you art that he does throughout the week. You get his art. You get his stuff. He will put forth effort, sweat, blood, and he will put his heart and soul into something. And I'll get his link in the chat here in just a second. But this guy is a fantastic individual, real nice fellow. And I've got a lot of hopes for this guy as he gets into his journeyman years. Thank you, Makani. Boosh, do you need to see this version? Do you understand?
As much as he likes, movies and older music and things like that, I think he would enjoy this movie.
6 Nation, 31 Kings. It's okay, sir. Things will get good. Trust me, things will get great. Actually, Janet, I got to go search for a link. I'm going to drop it in the chat. Yeah, I'm just going to take you to a Russian server probably, but you're going to be able to watch an English version of this movie we had last night. And I really hope that if you haven't seen it yet.
What movie? You guys watched the movie after I left?
No. The Romeo and Juliet. I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully it will. This is the movie for you, Boosh. I just dropped it in there. There you go. And that'll get you the English version of this film.
One of the things about the movie is the step-by-step, how the director that you envision the daily life of Romeo and the daily life of Juliet, of what their simple life was like. One was more out and adventurous and hanging with his friends, drinking, staying out late. And then you had a young girl who's basically henpecked and coddled 24/7 by the nursemaid and her mother. Okay. And she would see her father, but it was very rare. You could tell it seemed more authentic compared to what they do in a lot of other movies. It seems like, because back then, like certain people, like if you watch Game of Thrones, a lot of the kings and stuff like that hardly ever saw their kids. They were out doing whatever it is kingly or princes would do, and they'd see their kids once in a while, especially if their wife wasn't exactly what they wanted to spend all their time with, right? So the fact that they made the fathers less active in their children's lives, you know what I mean? Because it seemed like Romeo spent way more time with his friends, which is what you would see with a 16 or 17-year-old boy than you would in every day hanging out with his dad type of thing. And the same thing with Juliet. She spent most of her time with the nursemaid, the woman who actually breastfed her and things like that growing up. So when she was sad or had her heart broken or she had a boo-boo or whatever, a nightmare, she would probably want to be with her nursemaid. She'd feel more coddled and stuff. Her mother was more like a boss, one that you knew that if you didn't do something right, that's the person that's going to punish you. And the nursemaid was the one that got to spoil her rotten and give her whatever she wanted, that type of thing. So, and plus she was rich, so she never wanted for anything. So that changed the dynamics more for the two characters in this story due to that fact that she couldn't just fall in love and get married like a stable girl would, or a stable boy type character. This was someone that was going to have to be betrothed to someone, even if she didn't love him or not. Yep. Even though the mother and the nursemaid wanted them to have, well, the nursemaid more trying to, when she told her that she had met her future love, that she was madly in love, and she was a 13-year-old girl. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just had a hard time simply because in our day and age, 13 is not old enough to do that. But when you think about it, at the time that this supposedly took place, that you didn't live to be 50. Most people that was old age. You died of a heart attack liver failure, things like that. It's simply because you were just worn out by the time you were 50, compared to what you are today. So I just thought it was, in a tragic way, reality of life, that you had these just young couple that met basically at a party that her father was holding, and with so many people, there were looked like at least 100 people at this get together, with dancing and drinking and feasting, and that the young man was so bold, to grab her hand and kiss it and everything, not worried about anybody seeing them, especially when he knew he wasn't wanted, basically, because there was a few people that were like, you got to be careful, because we don't want you here. But the father didn't want to ruffle any feathers after the stuff that happened that day with the street fight and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why he was able to stay there and see the most beautiful woman or girl that he thought he would ever see in his lifetime. So I just thought that was just a beautiful view of young love, your first love, how you never forget your first love. So your first kiss, things like that, and who it was with. I think that's one of the things that we all remember. And the first time you make love, you'll remember that. So, it was a whole story about firsts, basically.
I wish I had a better set of morals when I was growing up. My mom tried her best, bless her. But, man, that 78 Thunderbird of mine between Forsyth and Warrensburg, Illinois, there was a dirty little corn lane, and the girlfriend I had at the time, she was interested in tagging as many V cards as she could on her wall, and she was a terrible person, but that was, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry, Janet.
What?
Boosh says, Bruce, you didn't call him that with any animosity. Huck loved Jim. It was just a fucking word. Yeah, I agree with this. Oh. I agree with that very, very much so. Mm-hmm. Romeo and Juliet was later on made into West Side Story, and then the descendants of Romeo and Juliet, let me see this like Ian McKellen, and then later in life, there's the descendants of the House Montague and House Collette. They made their way to the American shores, and they became the Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah, it had a lot of similarities.
Then he says
the tragedy of love, especially when you're on two sides of a war. There was a song that my mom liked. I can't remember who sang it. It was about an Indian girl that fell in love with another Indian boy from an opposite side of the river. And I can't remember the name of it. And they both jumped into the river and swam, and they both drowned together. I cannot remember the name of the song, but all those types of stories were popping in my head while we were watching this.
Hey, Wolf 10 Media, how you doing?
It's very, very tragic, the whole thing. But it was very well done, I thought. Even the scene where you see the partial nudity, you see his butt, and you see her laying there in an embrace, and then he gets up, he's putting on his pants or whatever. And if they're thinking that seeing each other naked was a traumatic experience for them, I don't know. I just don't know what was so traumatic about it. I mean, they had nature shows on TV with naked native tribal people jumping around and doing stuff on National Geographic. I remember seeing that on TV. I mean,
that was the only way we had a chance to see actual good nakedness.
In the 70s, I remember seeing stuff like that when I was young on TV, and in the 80s. I mean, there was another show with Jacques Cousteau, and there was Omaha, something
Mutual
Omaha.
Omaha.
Yeah, that's it. Mutual of Omaha.
All America.
So that's where the first time I ever saw a naked person, and there was naked man, and he had a big carrot like gourd or something on his wee wee. He's the first naked guy I ever saw. So and I was like, wow, why are they wearing that like that?
My aunt.
I remember asking my mom about that. So
my aunt had me babysit my cousin for the first time when she was like 3 months old, and she thought that I had already seen like a sex organ. I've seen a vagina already. You're gonna change my kid's diaper, okay? And I saw it, and I kind of like, what? There's no dangly bit, and she's like, what? I said, it doesn't dangle. She's like, give me my daughter. Let me explain things to you. And she was upset. She didn't realize my mom had me so well protected. I had never seen that until I saw that
Mhm.
with my cousin, and I'm like, I'm sorry, And she's like, well, I mean, we had to have a discussion, but then I never was asked to do that by that aunt again. I don't know what was going through her head. I'm not a Kentuckian.
Did
I'm
she
I'm
have
from
any
Illinois.
boys?
Nope, she had no boys.
Okay. Well, that's
So
probably it. She just made her feel uncomfortable.
and anyway,
And then I remember after I saw the native people, and I don't remember how old I was, maybe 5
yeah,
that I remember. And then I remember we were um, swimming in the lake. It was like a pond or whatever, and a couple of my cousins were swimming, and they were fighting, and one of them lost her shorts. And I remember seeing a real one, but it was real little. It was a really tiny one,
it's
but it was
fucking
different. It
water.
looked like a
It's
little
fucking
thumb.
water, Janet.
It looked like a little thumb or
Stop
whatever.
being
And
a
my
hater.
mom just ran over and tried to cover our eyes, us girls, and said, not supposed to see that stuff or whatever. But so it's not like, you could grow up basically and have a real life and be interactive with your relatives and stuff and not see one.
Yeah,
Sooner or later, you're going to see it. And the guy's going to see the woman or a girl, what a girl looks like. That's why, remember, I got so upset when we watched that movie with the woman with the puppets. When she had the
yeah.
puppets that had hair and stuff on them. And I said that to me was inappropriate because she's
That's fucking
showing
entrapment.
a small child something they would not see. Okay, because dad's not running around naked. She would more likely see another child her own age without clothes on, not a grown up with hair.
Exactly.
That's the difference. And that's what upset me, because to me, that was putting thoughts in her head that normally would not be there. Okay. Or the little boys the same way, because cousins or whatever seeing each other naked is totally something that would happen in natural life as you grow up. But a child you're around your same age is what you're going to see. You're not going to see normally a grown woman or your grandma naked. You know what I'm saying? Unless you walked in on them in the bathroom or something like that. And that's something you just have to deal with when those things happen. But to me, I didn't feel like the little bit that we got to see in this movie for that one small section of the movie before he's about to run off and hide was more than, that you see so much of on soap operas, and, it's just all out there. But maybe it's because I didn't see a movie that old. You know what I mean? I never saw. Maybe back then when it was made, it was something that was a big deal. I don't know. I didn't get that from anything that I was reading about it.
Well,
I
I
don't
had a
really know.
redemption arc about maybe 3 years later when I was 13. Uh, my high school best friend, she used to drive me to school because we didn't want to ride the bus, so we took her Cavalier. Remember the Cavalier kids? Okay. Well, she'd drive me to school, and she found a guy, and she had a kid. Shortly after out of high school, she was the first single mother I knew.
Mm-hmm.
First single mother I was really good friends with, I'll say that. And then something happened, and we became really close. After she graduated, she had things go on, and it was good to see her life going forward. Well, all of my family knew her mom and dad because her mom did the hair for everybody. Well, Dina tells everyone that she's going to go see a concert, and I'd already agreed to watch her daughter Kate for her. So
Mm-hmm.
Kate's like a month old, and Dina's like, I don't understand if you know how to change a diaper. And I said, not really, but I'll try. And so she's like, well, here's your experiment. And so Dina's supervised, and here's Kate during this little live wire. She's been like this little piece of electricity. And I managed to grab the diaper, slap it on the baby, rotate around, get had the little Hanes, what was that? The little sticky strip on the side, and I had one side secured, And after I got that done, it was easy. Just keep following it to the kid and let her twist around. Now, I'm not trying to restrain her. I'm just making sure she's on the center of the bed so she doesn't like get the rest of the sheets dirty, because we have her on like a puppy pad. And then we, get the other one secured. And all right, here's Kate. And Tina's like, all right, you're good to go. And then from there on out, she told the rest of like everybody at Sunday dinner one day, she's like, yeah, Bruce was really good with my daughter. I'd never seen anybody just take the kids naturally like that. But Kate is like not still. And she was glowing about this. My aunt's there, and like my little cousin is next to my aunt. And my aunt, she's like listening in, like want to know if like, okay, I want to know, is Bruce good or is Bruce bad? And Tina's like, I trust Bruce with my life. But more importantly, I trust him with my daughter. I'm like, thank you. And that ended any controversy between me and that side of the house for a long time, because like my aunt and my grandma loved Dina's mom as a hairdresser. And so anything that came out of that house was golden. And me getting the mark of approval from Dina was very important in my early teenage years, because I didn't have a lot of joy. I lost a lot of wrestling matches. I wasn't that good at academics. I felt a lot of it was shit. It really is. That was just me. But I guess I should read the chat here. Olivia Hussey praised the movie until 2022. I'm not a dick here. I am an ISTJ. The J means judgmental. Her last name is Hussey. I love you, Olivia Hussey, but we already know how this ends. God bless you. And I still like Caroline Munro a little bit more, because Caroline understood her role. She was the original Carrie Werher. If you understand who Carrie Werher is, me calling Caroline Munro the original Carrie Werher is completely on point and on brand. Those two ladies, amazing, lots of talent, never got a lot of love from Hollywood, but were always working. And they didn't give a shit. They just wanted to pay their house note. We got 14 people in chat. I want to say everybody hello. Mock, if you're still in here, appreciate you. I understand if you are not. I do want you to be successful, sir. If I'm not with you on Sundays, I really wish you the best. I want to be there. I need 36 hours on Sunday.
I know we all do, don't we?
Yeah. Soy-based Jeremy says, hey, Boosh. And then Six Nations is like, that's one thing I failed to do, is pull up all the old interviews that prove that. I'm here for the film. I leave the drama to the mainstream media. Mainstream media will lie to you, though. However, I do trust Janet, because Janet has been proven time and time again to find old bits of hearsay and other items of note. She'll find old receipts, and she's the reason why we all understand why the Ice Pirates failed. And if you don't understand what that means, then there was a movie called The Ice Pirates that was an MGM production back in 1984. 84 was the year that MGM went through a head. The new head was installed at MGM, and he was bound and determined to make his mark. But before he got started, everything that was in pre-production, he went and sabotaged. Janet went and found that.
Oh, and the whole fight with Paul Newman, the actor, because he had said things about Paul Newman's wife. Remember?
Yep.
That was something I found too. And he said that shit ain't flying. So a lot of this stuff started coming out because of the infighting in Hollywood between different studios. So, and a lot of things too that I've found about different movies is, if you could dig it up, but sometimes it's not that easy because they're really good at hiding it, is that you could have an excellent movie with everything perfect, and then they bring in someone who's an editor, and the editor can ruin it. So, editing can ruin a movie fast. I mean, just like that. If they cut out the right things, put it together where it doesn't make any sense, it ruins the flow of the movie, ruins the musical flow, everything. And it can sabotage a movie just by editing. So that's why it's important from top down that all the people are in line with what the director's viewpoint is about what he's wanting to see come to life. But the fact that a movie gets put together and put out without the director's final view of it, that's not a good thing either. And that's usually a successful movie when a director sits down and watches it before its theatrical release and says, this is shit. We need to re-edit, or we need to do this, that, and the other, and then bring it back up to par. So, and then other times you have a director that sits and watches it and goes, mwah, I love it. And then it comes out and it's shit. Like what was Powder? The ending of Powder, I absolutely hated. The whole movie was forced down your throat because he wanted you to see him become, or whatever you want to call that word. So I don't know. It's just sad because everything really does end up on the lap of the director. And sometimes the director really doesn't have the say in it. But one thing I wanted to make sure that the chat knew was that this movie, when you see it and you watch how much detail is in every single nook and cranny of this movie, everything down to buttons and lace on dresses. I mean, it's just so perfect to me. That it only cost $850,000 to make. And back in 68, that would be like 2 million, or what was it? Was it 2 million or 20 million today?
I think it was like 20.
Let me find see if I get my notes here for that. Because I was really surprised how cheap that was.
Claire Danes, the Louis DiCaprio one, isn't bad. It's a really good modern retelling of it, and it's fairly accurate. It's just modernized, that's all. And it's modernized to 1995 or 97. They were mostly in their 20s. Thank you.
Well, they were old enough to vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little different than the one they made in 1968. But the thing is, it's just like I said, if you have a child and you're walking through the mall and somebody comes up and says, oh my God, I love your kid. I want to put your kid in my TV show or whatever. And that has happened many times with many, many child actors. And the thing is, if you just hand your kid, you go show up for set and you just hand your kid over to these people and you don't know anything about them, you're setting your child up for torture or who knows what. I don't know a parent that would do that, but there are parents that do that. They show up at set, they drop their kid off, and then they go hang out and go, I don't know what they do, go shopping or whatever. Unless you have a personal assistant or someone to take care of your child to make sure your child's not being abused or drinking or doing drugs or whatever.
Make sure my child doesn't turn into Drew Barrymore for people.
Well, the thing is it really, the parents should love their kid enough to not leave them with strangers. You don't know what can happen to a child. Well, you should, as a parent, everything can happen to a child. That's how you should look at it. But those parents that are hands-on parents are the ones where the child ends up growing up and being stable, even though they grew up in the industry. Drew Barrymore isn't a very good example. She had a lot of problems because she had a mother that was a party animal. Okay. But then you look at Brooke Shields, totally different mother compared to Drew Barrymore. So, it's sad because there are a lot of kids that grew up and had problems and other ones that didn't have any problems because their parents were involved in every aspect of what they had their child in.
I just want to say that Bush went and did the work. He found the average life expectancy in 1600 when Shakespeare wrote this was 25. Average life expectancy. So, that's 14th, 15th century for Romeo and Juliet. 13 years old girl, she's bleeding, breed them. And so less than 5% of these people make it to 50 years old. You want to get these kids fucking when they turn 13. If the girl's advanced, if she's 12 and she's menstruating, you're probably gonna get her married up. I'm sorry, but and that says the thing is that I never recognized that. I just had never seen one when that is like, just really, it looks like an axe wound. Should we call 911?
Well, the thing is,
thought like somebody.
when you see someone like you saw him when he's wearing that mask and he sees her dancing, and he just is smitten right away. I mean, it's like love at first sight. But you got to remember, he's a raging hormone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she has the beginnings of her little hormones, her little hand just sweating, and her heart's just beating out of her chest. And all she could think about is wanting to hug him and kiss him. But they're not thinking about the actual act. They know there's something that goes together, and this is how it works. It's the feelings that they have when they see each other that are stirring, the emotions that are stirring inside them. And they dive in head first, without realizing the consequences of their actions, because there's nothing but hormones going on, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're raging hormones, and then they're sneaking around, which even makes it more exciting. That's why so many people cheat, on their spouse or their girlfriends and stuff. Is because it's excitement. It's the forbidden fruit, basically. And everybody wants what they can't have, or think they can't have. And a lot of people play it that way, But in this movie or in this story, basically, that's what you have. You have these two young starstruck lovers that have never been involved with any type of relationship like this. And they think they're madly in love, and they want to spend the rest of their lives together. And their life, they're not even thinking about being 50, or being grandparents or anything. They're not even thinking about kids. All they're thinking about is wanting to get together and share their experiences. That's it. They're not thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to get pregnant. That's why so many young people, when they first had their first experiences and they end up getting pregnant, they're not thinking about pregnancy at all. It's not even a twinkle in their eye. All they're thinking about is how much they want to be with that person. And then one thing leads to another. Next thing you know, they're having sex, and
you've got a reason to be with them because you've got kids.
Well, what I mean is that it to me, he did a very good job at showing that passion between two young starstruck lovers that just pass in the night, and then they all they want to do is be together. That's all they can think about. And the fact that they have to sneak around and hide everything makes them want to be together even more, because it's going against everything they're supposed to be doing. And it's just like when you tell your son, you got to stay home tonight, you're grounded. You're not allowed to go anywhere. What's the first thing he's going to do when he goes up to his room? He's going to lock his door and crawl out the window. He's going to do exactly what he's not supposed to. That is human nature. That's what we do. We rebel. We're going to prove him wrong. Well, you think you can keep me here. Well, it's not going to work. That's what we do. As teenagers, we're rebellious, and either we get past that and we grow up from it, or we don't. And what happened with this young couple is all these bad, tragic things happen. The friar tries to send a note to let him know that he was going to give a special chemical to Juliet that would make her sleep and it look like she's dead. So if he could, when he gets here, she'll wake up, and then they could sneak off together and spend the rest of their lives together, and no one would know, because they're both gone. She's supposed to be dead, and he's run off because he's afraid that he's going to end up in the gallows or be put to death for murdering someone, right? And what happens is another person sees her die or thinks she's dead and gets on his horse and rides as fast as he can to go tell him, and passes up the person that has the message to him to let him know that she's not really dead, that she's just asleep. So it's like Sleeping Beauty, that story. So the thing is that it's this one tragic mistake after another, basically, because they're too young to understand the consequences of their actions. And basically their parents were clueless, because their parents were not involved. The parents were not hands-on enough to understand what their children were going through at the time. And that's what made it even more tragic to me as a mom, so.
Travis is like, I love
but the excellent job of our director of this movie is the reason why this is one of the I've only seen one other version, and I can't remember. Maybe it was an older one than this because it was on VHS, and I didn't think it was very good. And I couldn't hardly understand anything that was going on because I couldn't understand the way they were speaking. So
There
it
was
made it
one from
really
like
hard for me.
1938 or 1932. There's
Yeah, it
one
might have
from
been.
that
It was
era.
an old version. It looked like it was almost like a silent movie to me.
Well, the
It was
lady
really
that was
old.
cast as Juliet was 40 fucking 2 years old.
Yeah.
And like it's a good movie if you just want like a plot and characters and stuff, da 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 da. But it's
But
not
I
a
loved
good
Grease.
rendition.
The movie Grease was excellent, and I bought the fact that they were all in their 30s, but they were high school students. I mean, I was able to believe that and
Oh,
make the movie enjoyable. And they
Janet,
were all singing and dancing, and they were supposed to be high school students. So,
Janet, I watched 3 seasons of Facts of Life. Okay, all of those girls were in their 20s playing middle
Mhm,
schoolers at first or
mhm.
whatever. The first season was so different from the rest of Facts of Life that it shouldn't even be considered canon. But I had a thing for Natalie Cohen and thought she was cute, even though she was a chubby one. She just seemed like she had a lot of charisma and she was bubbly as hell. So she was like the friend that you wanted because like you could get in trouble with her and you blame it on her. Like if like there was like the chocolate cake was missing, you could have like more pieces of it than her, but she'd be blamed because she was a fat kid. Did I say that? Anyway, so I understand like the Hollywood has a real hard time casting movies with kids, and this I kind of want to talk about Bugsy Malone when we talk about this movie because Bugsy Malone is one of the first that's done it right. If they want to do child actors, do it like that. And that movie was so fucking good for being a child's film. It's definitely got some adult-ish things in it, but it's definitely a movie you can watch with the kids, and it's aimed at that market. Like, hey, the adults want to share a movie with the kids, pop this into Betamax and have fun, and that's exactly what that is. This here is more of a film that you watch when you're in your teen years or you're doing English lit and you're like, oh, I got to study, all this stuff. And here we go. And into Shakespeare. And then when you watch this, you're just mesmerized by it. I stopped painting for a good chunk of the movie last night. I thought it was that good. And I thought this movie,
Yeah, I didn't hear a peep out of anyone. You know what I mean? Normally when we watch it, other people are talking or whispering or whatever. I didn't hear a peep out of anybody in the room
well,
during
mostly
the
they have
movie.
their stuff muted, but there's so much that went on in that movie that was so accurate to William Shakespeare. And I thought it was such a
I
good
want to
rendition
wait. I got
of
to
it.
say something. Summer is asking about my costume. I'm dressed in an outfit for the movie Romeo and Juliet, and this is like from the period clothing from the movie that we were talking about.
Summer, I'd like you to meet my friend Janet. I think you're a subscriber of hers, but on Mondays when she does movie reviews, she gets in costume and she really gets a chance to do her Halloween is once a week.
It's just fun to dress in theme or try to dress as one of the characters or whatever of the movie that we're discussing. That's what I try to do every week.
And
So,
and
but
Grumpy
thank you for
agrees.
stopping in.
Grumpy agrees. This movie captures the era of Renaissance era Italy very
Mhm.
well. I thought it was fantastic. Summer, I paint miniatures. West Side Story, same dialogue, different, same story, different time. Travis is over here. It would have been cheaper if they were naked. Yes, sir. You're right.
Well, the whole story is not about them being naked and just romping around having sex 24/7. The story is about young love and the tragedy of it, because for each step through their journey of love is hiding and sneaking around due to the fact that two families are feuding with each other, and it's like a forbidden fruit.
It,
And the fact that they can't tell anyone. The only one that knows the truth, or the two, is the friar that marries them, and the fact that they married each other was to me was so romantic, because they didn't have to take that step. They could have just done whatever, but they didn't, because they were religious. They believed in God and they wanted to do the right thing under God's eyes. So, and then you had the nursemaid that snuck around behind the mother's back and, shared secret messages back and forth because she thought it was fun. But you got to remember, she was basically her mother, because she fed her from her breast and raised her, changed her diaper, took care of her from the time she was a newborn. And so that's very hard. It's just like being an adopted mother. You get a baby handed to you and you take care of it. You take care of every need that it has until it's an adult. And that's basically what she did. She took care of this child for almost 14 years. So she was her mom. And I could see, and she was fun, and she snuck around, and I'm sure she let her get away with murder. You know what I mean? She spoiled her rotten, because she didn't have to be the one to discipline her. Her mother would do that. So she got to do the fun thing, she got to spoil her and, play games with her, play hide and seek, and talk about tell her stories and do all the fun things that moms get to do with their daughters. And so she took advantage of that, because partly because the decisions around them, the adults that made the decisions around them didn't think it through about where they would end up in the future, knowing that the two shouldn't be together because it was going to cause turmoil within the two families, but they still did it. You see, so that's what the tragedy of it is that you've got these two young people that fall in love and want to spend they think they want to spend the rest of their lives together, but they're young. They're very young. They're immature. And I love the fact that he picked the two actors that he did, because they were immature. They acted immature when the way they kissed each other. It wasn't passionate like two experienced lovers would kiss, where you're watching them on screen. You're like, you start getting turned on because they're very good at what they're doing to come across to saying, man, I wish I was doing that. Except you had two young people that were kissing and falling over each other, basically, because they were so excited to be with each other, but they really didn't know what they're supposed to be doing, and it was a new experience for them. And I just love that, the innocence of it. And I thought they did an excellent job.
I almost want to say modern medicine has fucked us up really bad.
Why?
Okay, not that I'm against modern medicine, but just follow me for a second. When you're 12 and 13 and 14, like your hormones are completely off the volcanic chart. You are erupting all the time. As a man, as a boy, you erupt 3, 5, 7 times a day. You can do that. You can like your recovery time is amazing. But it now we force adulthood. In Western society, adulthood isn't until 18. You're not supposed to do things till you're 18, smoke a cigarette, vote, go to war, blow up people, do fun shit. But you had 6 years before that where like you were a spill hazard and you had to like make sure you didn't like come inside the wrong thought in the trailer park. And you had to really be careful. Back in the day, that wasn't the case. Like your dad's like, hey, listen, I really wouldn't mind if you went with the tailor's daughter and you two became a thing, because that would unite our two houses. And because you're 14, you need to start thinking about adulthood and being a good husband. Brothers in today's society, men in today's society, 18 through 25 are now lost because our manhood, our adulthood is being taken away from us. We're not supposed to act on our impulses. Granted, you're not supposed to do rape or anything like that, thank God. But you are supposed to, expected to, learn courtship mores and all these other things, these other silly things. And the feminists have ruined society along with modern medicine, because you're supposed to wait until your 20s and successful and have things secured. And then you can afford to have your 7 or 12 kids. Well, we don't do that anymore because the taxation makes it to where having 7 kids is damn near useless. I mean, what mother wants to drive around a school bus for all 13 of her children? That
But you
hurts.
have to remember this too, Bruce, is that in a lot of places, in a lot of areas, and even in the big cities, people do have a lot of kids. And
There,
it's not because they want to have them. It's because they want to have sex. Sex is one of the only things they have. They can't afford to go out to restaurants. They can't afford to go to the movies. And they don't have birth control. Okay. And a lot of the guys that I remember, because remember, I'm a tomboy, and a lot of my male friends would say, I wouldn't like condoms because it made it where it wasn't as enjoyable. So basically, and they'd say, well, if the girl wasn't on the pill, then I guess it's her problem. That's what I heard from most of the guys when I was in high school, and a little after high school. And that was sad. And that's why I said, hell no, I ain't going out with any of these guys. They're all losers. So I was thinking they didn't give a shit about the girls. They blamed the girls for their own problems because they were going out with girls 3 or 4 years younger than them. And they expected them to know about all the stuff that they should know about, when pretty much they were probably the first guy they ever slept with. And I just thought guys were bums. I just thought all guys were like that. So I just wasn't interested in, and that's when my mother started making me go to modeling school and stuff, because she said that she was worried that I didn't like boys. But it wasn't that I didn't like them. I just didn't like the ones around me, because they were self-centered and selfish, and they didn't care about, they said they wanted a good girl to take home to mom and dad, but they were out there making all the girls bad. They weren't trying to keep any good ones there, and I had 3 or 4 friends that had 2 kids by the time they were going to graduate from high school. And I was like, that isn't going to be me. So
Uncle Bruce is going to speak to the young ladies of the room real quick. If you're a 15 to 20-year-old girl or a young lady, I just want to say this real quick. Go ahead, be completely honest with yourself with what your thoughts are, but don't act on them. Reserve your actions until later. Don't be an idiot and go for the cool bad boy, because you're going to be a single mom in a trailer court in Leavenworth, and it's not going to be fun for you. Fort Lost in the Woods, and I don't recommend it, because that life isn't fun. Now, I know a lot of ladies that reserve themselves, like Janet. You got really lucky; you hit the jackpot when you were 18, and then you had 3 great kids, and you're doing well, and that's awesome. Not every woman I know is like that, where they meet their high school love and they go off and have like the picturesque romance. Yeah, it's a military guy, but whenever he's home, whenever he's back from base, he's doing great with you. And then he goes off and sits in a submarine for 6 months, masturbating to porn and good thoughts of you.
Well, the thing is, it takes 2. Okay.
Yeah,
See, this is what I try to tell people. It takes 2 people for a relationship to be successful. You both have to give, you both have to take. Okay. That's a normal relationship. But when you get to farther in your relationship and one is giving, the other one's just taking, that's when the problem starts. That's when the other one that's getting taken all the time says, I'm tired of this, and they want out. So if you love someone, you should tell them every day that you love them and want to be the best you can when you're with that person every day. And if you can do that, you'll always have that. Okay. And if you look at the person that you're with as your best friend, and you tell them, I love this about you, I love that about you, let's do this together because we both like it, or let's try something different that we've never done, and both do it together, whatever it is. Because who gives a shit if anyone else likes what you're doing, as long as you 2 do. See, that's a relationship. When you go with the person that you chose as your life partner, and you don't care about what anyone else thinks about your relationship, and you make it work. Okay. And you talk to each other about how you want to raise your children. And when it's time to discipline your kids, you do it together. You work on everything together because you're partners in life. And that's, as long as you do that, you'll be one of those couples that make it to, till the day you die, until one of you leaves the relationship that way. But I hear so many people say that's what they want, but they end up letting other things take place of their relationship: alcohol, drugs, sex with other people. all those things is what ruins relationships. And it's because you don't talk to each other anymore. And that's what's so wonderful and refreshing about watching a movie like this, is to get renewed of the wonders of what it was when you first fell in love with your first love. You know, the feelings, the butterflies in your stomach, your palms sweating, how you couldn't wait to see them again. And you can't stop thinking about them when you're not with them. You know, all those wonderful things that you could have every day. You could go to work and be thinking about how much you want to be with the person when you get home. And when you come home and they've got cooked dinner for you or whatever it is you're doing, you just tell them, thank you so much. Because they cooked it for you before you got there, thinking about you and what you might want to eat. You know, they did your laundry. They cleaned your house for you because they wanted you to come home to a clean house and have a beer ready for you, or whatever it is that you work out in your relationship. Look at it that way, and don't build up resentment against each other because the other one's always leaving their shoes out. They don't put their clothes in the hamper. They don't shut the toilet lid. They don't take out the trash. They don't say, hey, you know, wow, the house looks great. You know, just like when Bruce and I watched that movie Overboard, and I said, I love that, the whole scene where he comes home and he sees the house was a huge mess, pile of mess, dirty dishes everywhere and stuff. And he walks in the kitchen, it's clean, the floor is swept, all the eggs are put in the egg holder, you know, everything's organized in the cabinets. You know, he could open a drawer and get a glass out. You know, everything they didn't have for years because she's doing it for him now. And then she thinks he's cheating. So she goes looking for him and she sees him shoveling fertilizer at night to make extra money. So she realizes he's working night shift. And he didn't want to tell her because he's too macho. So he tells her he's out with the guys, you know, whatever. And she doesn't tell him that she knows about it. She keeps it a secret because she doesn't want to embarrass him. That's what you do when you love someone. You keep secrets for them. Don't tell them that you know that what they're doing is because they're embarrassed by it or whatever. You just respect them and you love them more because they're willing to do that for you. You see, that's what makes good relationships. And that's why I love movies like this. Watching a movie like this does not make you a wuss. It doesn't make you a wimp. You know, it makes you see what it was like when you were 12 and 13 and you got to have your first kiss, or you got to hold hands with your first boyfriend or whatever it was, and experience young love. Everyone has it. It happens to everyone. I don't care if you're gay or a lesbian or you know, just likes the opposite sex. It doesn't matter. You're all going to fall in love for the first time. Or infatuation or whatever you want to call it. We're all going to have it. Every single one of us in this that's born on this earth is going to have this happen to them. So it's an experience that we can all share with one another because talking about it is important. So one day when you have your own child that's 12, 10, whatever, and says, I saw this girl and she's so pretty. She's got beautiful eyes and I want to take her an apple, or can you make cookies? Help me make cookies for her. Stuff like that. That is a life experience that you can't pay for. That's something you get to keep in your heart for the rest of your life. It's a memory that you'll always have on your deathbed, you know, and it's an experience that you can only get once in a lifetime. And don't you want to be part of that with your own child? So, or your brother or your sister or your cousin? It's a life experience that, you know, that you don't know when it's going to happen because it happens once in your life. And it was just beautiful. He did such a good job. This director did such a good job at portraying that and getting his young actors to show us it on film when they made this movie. It's just phenomenal. I just really loved the innocent quality that came across on this film between the two young actors. It's just overwhelming how wonderful and beautiful it was.
That's something I'm going to dovetail on because I think this movie hits the innocence completely on the head. There's the physicality of the kids going through this movie. You can tell they're pretty much like so young, and when they're trying to like kiss each other out of passion, Like, you don't remember this. Like, guys, girls, you don't remember this. But in your early 20s and teen years, you were awkward as fuck, okay? You stumbled, you tripped. Even if you were in ballet, you were not the graceful goose that you thought you are. When you were a horny teen, you would stumble through rows of chairs like a Belgian Malinois chasing a fucking terrorist. All right,
Yeah.
you would stagger after somebody trying to get onto all fours so you could get traction uphill on the wet grass because you had a hard dick. We forget this as middle-aged people. We forget the steamy hot passion and the thoughts kind of consume our brain, but we don't get a chance to be third person and watch us be complete and utter fools and buffoons stumbling around with, like, wet panties and stretched out denim. Like, I gotta get myself laid. I'm going to burst. We don't think of it like that. Your 20s and your teens, you suck. You're terrible. You might be good at sex with that one person, but you're not really show quality. So don't film it and put it on the web for us. Don't do that. Please. You were not as cool as what you thought you were. I'm just saying this because it took me a long time to realize just how ugly I was on things. Like, I thought I was kind of a Casanova, but I'm just a buffoon that likes to drink. That's me. And I think that's a lot of guys, because you know what? We don't mind. If that's our game plan for getting poon, we fucking bowl that strike every time. That's exactly how we do that. We are as sexy as a bowling league team, I tell you, with our own special shoes and those little collared shirts they give you, the league shirts. You know what I'm talking about. You think you're all strutting around Hot Topic and such, and really you look about as sexy as John Goodman in that wonderful movie, The Big Lebowski. You are not a sex pot. You are not sexy as hell. So I hate to tell you this, but we are all the same pile of shit. You might be a lighter.
I love bowling. Bowling is fun.
Okay.
Have you ever? What's the name of that place that you go and it's like 3 levels and you get to play golf? And you can get drinks and you can play golf and there's a TV screen. Top Golf. Okay, that is fun too. But there's bowling alleys that have like glow in the dark bowling and all the different stuff that you can do too. And that's a blast too. And it's a lot of fun. And you can let your hair down, have a pitcher of a drink, whatever it is you choose, and have a great time. So go ahead, Bruce. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
I just wanted to bring reality to you because, like, there's a lot of people that think they're something special. And hold up. I know Instagram might make you feel one way about yourself, but in reality, like the in motion portion is a lot different than what you think your reality is. So stop thinking you're special snowflakes. You all come from the same. You all will go out the same. It's going to happen to all of us sooner or later. However, between point A and point B, have fun. This movie's about young love. It's not a how-to. It's not a good way for you to live your own life. I don't recommend. I especially don't recommend the 1997 Romeo and Juliet, the thug life that they show in that, which is a very good Romeo and Juliet movie. It's just in modern parlance, but modern setting. The text, the script is still the same. And if you like Shakespeare, you're going to enjoy it. But I'm just trying to warn you that this is a great story. It's a fun movie. The Hatfields and McCoys took it as a primer on how to live life. Do not follow. Do not repeat. Do not follow. Do not try to imitate. You will have a very unfortunate existence. But this is a fun little story, and it's a good way for you if you've got like a youngster in the house that's approaching middle school or high school English class. This is a good way to bond with them and show them a fun movie that was done properly. I feel I like Olivia Hussey's body of work when she's an old woman who is trying to capitalize on something she did 50 years ago and make some more money come out of nowhere. I kind of disagree with what she did. I mean, she's saying a bunch of Me Too shit, and I really don't think that happened. I don't think this guy was the same level of dirtbag as what was in modern Hollywood or even 1960s Hollywood, because they've been the same for years. Okay, the Shirley Temple story confirms it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a great example of Shakespeare done masterclass level.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best it gets. Like I said before, I rate this movie very highly on props, on set design, on location. It made me feel the exact same watching this as it did watching the Dino De Laurentiis version of Conan the Barbarian in 1982. Chat, by the way, guys, if you've seen this version of the movie, I want to know your scores, because me and Janet will read them out.
Well, one thing I wanted to say really quick is the fact that if you have a child that's, old enough to have read Romeo and Juliet, so if they've read it, their imagination can go way far with whatever they read, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you have a child that's already read it and you would like them to watch this movie, you watch it, and I guarantee you're going to want to sit and watch this, because this is so tastefully done. At least I feel that way. It's very tastefully done. I can't believe I'd never seen it before. But the thing is, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to get to watch it with a group of great people that enjoyed the movie as much as I did. And it's got everything in it. I mean, if they took the money and didn't report it, it's not a crime. They're just whores.
Thank you, Janet.
I don't know who they're talking about. Who took
Olivia
money?
Hussey and Leonard Whiting for their 50 years later. We were
they're trying to sue for they're suing. They want to sue. It got thrown out, I think, for $500 million.
And they're on the appeal case.
50 years after they made the movie. I just think it's ridiculous. But the thing is, they did a good job. At the time they did this, the director was so good at bringing out the best of them for these characters. And the fact that every person that worked on this movie wanted it to be successful. Even though they spent $850,000 on this movie, it's so well done. I mean, they spent every dime on it, making sure it was authentic as possible by filming it in places that looked like the real story in your imagination. And it was just wonderful. I enjoyed it all the way down to every article of clothing, dishes, the stuff in the rooms on the set. I just thought it was fabulous. I just thought they did a wonderful job. It's so good. I cried my eyes out. I started crying when he finds her dead and he starts going through everything he went through in the tomb with her. Mm-hmm. It just broke my heart for him. I mean, it really did. And even though I knew that he was going to die, when that kid was riding that horse toward him, past the guy that had the letter from the friar, I was like, oh my God, you're passing him up. Even though I knew it was going to happen, I still couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't stop it, the tragedy from happening, even though I wanted to. And that was really hard. But he was so adorable and sweet. I just thought both of them were just wonderful. I just loved it. So I think everyone should watch it if you haven't seen it yet. That's my 2 cents.
Wow. Okay, so we've got some scores here. You want to read them out loud, or do you want to?
Well, I want to make sure I don't miss anyone.
I've got I'll highlight them, and you can go ahead and read.
Okay. Soy Based Jeremy says it's a 7.5 out of 10, which is a pretty good score. I may be a bit biased on this, but this is a 9 out of 10 for me. That is where I would rate it too. I give it a 9. I've given a lot of 9s this year, haven't I?
You have. You always rate your movies. I'm not going to say that you have a a very high rating curve, but you do a lot more 84 and above than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but see, a few times you and we discussed the movie, and once we start talking about it, you start looking at it a little differently too,
Yeah,
because I'll bring things out, like the whole thing with the Ice Pirates, with the editing and things.
Yeah,
Same thing with Cutthroat Island. Different things that I'll start saying something was wrong with this set. We got to dig into this because something happened to ruin this, because there's no way this was a bad movie, or this movie was ruined, just like Powder, and The Cowboy Way. We both liked it when we were young, but when we saw it as adults, we're like, why did I like this movie?
We both came to the table on The Cowboy Way, not appreciating a second or third viewing of it. We really, back when we were young, 1994, when the movie debuted and Woody Harrelson's wearing his Calvin Klein, we thought that was a high art movie. 40-something Bruce and Janet, we're talking about the film, and like, I don't remember it being this bad. Ernie Hudson allowed him to drive a truck into a bar. Ernie Hudson played a cop, and the script said, "This is fine. It'll be okay. It'll buff out." And he lets him drive a truck into a bar. So yeah, that we both came into this discussion forum hating on The Cowboy Way. And there's a lot of instances where you'll discuss things and I already have my mind made up about something, but you bring in new information and it's impossible for me to hear the information and retain my original feeling or original rating on it, because there's no way as a thinking person I should be feeling that same way. I should probably adjust my thinking a bit to allow for consideration the new information which is now on the table.
And you've done that. And I've been real impressed with you for that.
I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. I also like, spinning around in my chair going, "Fuck you, I was right. Fuck you, I was right. Fuck you, I was right." I love doing that. But that's just
yes. But see, that's what made this whole experience with you for this whole year, maybe a little over a year that we've been able to do this. And I've just loved every week. I've loved it. I've looked forward to it each week, getting to see a lot of movies that I would never, ever watch, like Gamers, Darkness Rising. I would never have seen that movie in my whole lifetime. And I loved watching it. It was fun. And I love getting to dress up and make it fun for myself. You know what I mean? To dive in head first. And I've loved it, and I'm gonna really miss it if we don't get to keep doing it. So
we're gonna get to keep doing this. We might have to adjust our schedule a little bit, and I apologize to our audience, but we will be making.
But yeah, your job is way more important because you're gonna have a house.
Yeah. Bush McFadden says, "Hasten me to the apothecary." I think that's hilarious. And Matt says something that I believe since I was a young boy: "Whores make the world go round." Yes, sir, they do.
But you got to remember, there are male and female whores.
Of course.
90% out of 100. That's good. I agree with him. I've seen many, many versions from silent to tasteless. This one, I personally have watched 50 plus times. The setting, costumes, cast, and cinematography are perfection. Yeah, and I agree with you. I haven't seen it 50 times though. I will watch it more now, and I will recommend it to a lot more people simply because it is timeless. I mean, I don't think they could find two young actors today to be able to play the innocence that I saw in this movie.
Yeah, I almost was going to say, well, and then you said the innocence. I'm like, oh, never mind.
I'm just saying the natural innocence that came across between these two characters, kissing, hugging as young lovers. It was totally innocent. I mean, it just seemed that way to me by the way they worked with, grabbed each other and stuff.
I don't disagree with you. I completely felt the physicality, their physical acting ability was really on
Mhm.
point for what was needed for this, but because of the fact they were so young and inexperienced is exactly why they succeeded so hard. And I'm going to believe that until my dying day. This is a really good movie, in my opinion. And I don't know why this isn't shown more, because whenever I asked a friend of mine about this, he didn't know about it. And I had to be reminded of it. And then once I
Mhm.
started watching it, I'm like, yep, Balmain. And he made us watch every version of Shakespeare that had ever gone on the big screen. So we got to see everything up until Mel Gibson's uh, Macbeth, I believe.
Mhm.
We got to see that, and that was okay. That was pretty good. I liked the Hamlet that they did. Uh, I think it was on HBO or Playboy. I can't remember which, but it was an adult version of Hamlet. It didn't have like a lot of
The
gratuitous
one
sex.
with was Mel Gibson in it?
No, not that one.
Okay, well, I watched a movie with Mel Gibson, and I can't remember if it was Hamlet or not. I thought it was wonderful, and I went with my sister and her husband, and they got up and left. They thought it was terrible.
I,
So I don't remember which one it was, but I'd have to look it up. But it was really good. But
I,
here's
I,
another one. He
I like
says,
Mel Gibson.
lady says he gave it at 8.5. Though it stayed very close to the source material, a few scenes I felt should have been reshot. And my earlier comment goes for anyone.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I wish. Could you mind sending us a little message and let us know which one or two of the scenes that you felt need to be redone? I'd be interested in seeing if I had a little bit of a leaning to the same ones. But see, I'm a little less picky when it comes to a few little things like that, because um, it's sometimes really hard to have exact certain items that you might need to fill in someone's mind. Okay, because you got to remember, when you've read some, this is one reason why I try not to read certain books when they first come out if I know they're going to make a movie or a TV series, because it ruins it. The TV show or movie will never be as good as the book, because your imagination is better than any director or production company. That's just the way it is. And so when you go see it, you have to be able to understand that there's no way they're going to fix whatever it is that you put in there and make it as good as that.
well,
They'll come close, but they're never going to replace it.
I will tastefully disagree with you because,
Really?
yep,
I don't. I must have a really good imagination. Now, remember what I said about Wolverine? I was so upset when I found out they had Wolverine picked as Hugh Jackman. Even though I love Hugh Jackman, I was like, Wolverine is not tall. He is short, stocky, and hairy.
Janet.
But after, huh?
Okay, Passion of the Christ is a story that most Western civilization knows. However, Mel Gibson, probably the finest director that Hollywood will see in my lifetime, did such a masterful job of retelling the four first books of the New Testament within a 2.5 or 3 hour movie that I
Well, you're
probably
right.
will never
You're
see
right on
that.
that one.
I'll never see another movie that hit me as hard as Passion of the Christ, because that's one of the few films that, one, I've been kicked out of the theater for squirting ketchup on people, but two, I've been when I did watch it in its entirety the first time in a theater, respectfully, I I really thought that movie was just awe-inspiring, and I thought it was just thunderous, like that, from the score to the iconic visuals to the end, which gives you a sense of hope and peace.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I
I've been
love
a
that
Christian.
movie.
I've been a Christian for years. I've
Hmm.
since my inception. I was raised as a Christian. It's just like hearing somebody from the Middle East saying, "Well, I was raised a Muslim." Okay, well, now
Hmm.
we understand each other. My reality is I was raised in that, and I think Passion of the Christ completely blew the doors off anything I've ever experienced at some hack version of Calvary Hill when I was a teen or 20 something at a church, and we all have to go there because this is our church's production. And thank God for Mel Gibson, because I'm never again going to go see a church put on a play of the Passion of the Christ. I don't need that. I love you guys. Now
See,
I'll
I
support
don't
you, but
I don't look at Passion of the Christ as a movie. I look
okay.
at it as a documentary. So that's what I did. I wouldn't put it with like The Great Raid or Tombstone or anything like that.
I
Personally, for myself. So that's one
okay.
reason why I still believe that if I read the, like The Wizard of Oz, okay, I didn't read The Wizard of Oz after I'd seen the movie, so I can't compare that. But like Game of Thrones, okay, I did read Game of Thrones, and they did a great job, but there was a lot of things that I noticed that I didn't agree with because the book was so much better than so much of the show. So I that's just how I am, though. I'm very, very visual, and when I dream in color. I can smell smells, all those things. At least I have a very vivid imagination. So I wish everyone could have that because I have really good dreams. I mean, they're so lifelike and fun. That's I think one of the reasons why I love the never ending story so much. And I really wanted the nothingness to never come, basically, because, I believe that dreams are our future. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Without dreams, nobody's going to create anything new.
Boosh says you're so pretty you make Olivia Hussey look like Thelma Ritter. Aw.
Oh, well, she was a little baby in this
All right.
movie. So, well, thank you very much. I like the compliment. It made me feel nice.
Six Nation says I liked it better than Ken Branagh.
Mhm.
Soy-based
Yeah.
Jeremy says
Joy said
7.5 out of 10.
hmm
I may be a bit biased on this, but this is a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, that's how I agree. I would give it a 9 for sure.
We already read Flady's comment where he says I'd give it an 8.5.
hmm I'm waiting to see if he's going to put anything in there so we can kind of get a 7.45. Very good, Summer.
Summer's
So
giving
Summer has seen it. I know she has a daughter, so I wonder if she would want her daughter to see it.
Six Nation says I rank it up there with Big Trouble and The Thing.
Oh
Man, that's oof.
yeah, I think it's right up there with The Thing too. I agree with you, Six Nations, because it's a totally different genre, but the quality of the way it was made and how it was directed, the writing of it, all the details that go behind the scenes. Yes, I definitely would put it right up there with it.
Wolfton Media, have a great night. I know you already left us, but I'm sorry, sir. I'm slow through the chat. Grumpy says, I won't even give a 10 out of 10 to RoboCop, my all-time favorite movie, or The Passion of the Christ, because 10s just don't exist in movies. They're all missing something because they come from humans who can only make a 9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. I love this movie. It was beautiful and stuff, but my favorite movie has not been surpassed.
What?
My favorite movie has not been surpassed. I like this movie a lot, but my very favorite movie has not been topped yet.
Okay, The Great Raid is probably never going to be top for you.
No, I don't think so.
Just
It's
like,
really, really hard. I try not to be that way, but I can't help it. It's just so much in that movie that speaks to me that I just don't see any movie I watch is going to beat that one.
if you're in San Antonio, High Five is a honey ale. If you like honey ales, so Bruce being a son of Samson, I like honey. Janet didn't give.
Did you guys go back and look at the girl's sleeves on the mat that she was laying? They were carrying her around on, so you could see how the sleeves were laying on her body from her gown.
You want me to go back and see that?
Yeah, I wanted you to, because you guys were talking about it, how it looked like whatever it was that you were saying. But
no offense, but I mean her funerary outfit, which is the same outfit I believe she got married in. It looks like, the way that everything was folded up, it looked like a vagina. It did. I'm sorry.
I know that's what you guys said, but I wanted you guys to understand that they were trying to make her sleeves lay across her chest and down her body because they're always huge, just like this. See how my sleeves are really, really, really big?
Mm-hmm.
This is what the outfits look like back then for the the people that have money. They had very elaborate costumes with lots and lots of layers of fabric. That was what they wore. So, and then the women would cover their hair with a scarf. And now this scarf wasn't long enough to wrap all my hair all the way with it. I only have it part the way down.
Behold the porn. I don't give a shit, YouTube. I really don't. You've made it to where I can't comment on shorts anymore because you get butthurt about things. I might just drive up to Austin and find one of your security people and beat the thrashings out of them. I fucking hate YouTube sometimes. I
see people showing pictures all the time on their channels. So I don't understand what the big deal is.
Oh, it's my commentary. I speak about things like free speech and fuck you.
Oh, yeah. That hurt me too. I remember I got 2 strikes on my channel.
I love being a cyberbully. It's the only way we can stop.
I am a cyberbully too. Did you take the little survey?
No, I didn't. I told him to go fuck yourself.
Took it. And I also, because of the game that we played, I submitted that paperwork too. And they let me, said I could use it.
Yeah. Once you put things in context, it makes sense. But whenever YouTube comes out with all these idiot out of context charges, like, no, here's what's going on. Maybe you should rewind to this timestamp here when we're talking about it. We're doing some stills of the movie, and I'm trying to find the portion where they're laying on their funerary berm, being, given to the
should have there's 543 pictures. Okay, so you need to go through it that way and just look through until you find the ones you want. So much porn.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry at all. I think
you should probably go towards the very end. You know what I mean? To the very last.
They're showing the last front 2 pages. They're showing
I haven't
the last
seen
third of the movie in the last 2 pages, but I don't see the kids on the funerary slabs yet. There's a lot of laying down in this movie, and it's not quite as bad as episode 1.
And the love scene was very, very short. So
very short.
The fact that everybody made such a big deal over it, I thought was kind of funny. So it was like it wasn't even 25 seconds long in the movie. So it's almost like real life.
It like this is almost like Canadian porn where there's like an hour of begging, 5 minutes of zug zug, and then 45 minutes of I'm so sorry.
Death by snoo.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, there's the outfit.
That's what she's wearing.
Can you see a picture of her? Now, see how big her sleeves are? They're huge.
They're fucking voluminous.
Yeah, they're giant.
You couldn't wear that to the theaters. They're like, empty your sleeves.
Well, it would cost you too much money because that looks like it's probably made out of wool. So it's very expensive.
I mean, Olivia Hussey, when I saw this for the first time, I was like 14 years old. So, I mean, later on that day, Olivia Hussey was hot on my mind. I'm not sorry. I was 14. She was 15 in the movie. Stop being judgmental.
Well, the thing is that's exactly what I was talking about. When they first laid eyes on each other in the movie, that is what I was trying to come across is that the raging hormones were going, and and that's what took precedent over everything in their lives.
Oh shit!
There you go, right there. See, it's her giant sleeves.
I'm not sorry.
And see, that's something I wanted to say about the prince. Every single time he had to come out, it was to break up a fight amongst the people. His people.
Okay. Did you ever watch The Godfather, Janet?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand the part about it where they're in Italy? No. Okay. So in Italy, they are complaining that there's no men inside the towns because of all vendettas. This is something that Italians do. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry if you Western civilization people don't read enough, but there's a lot of violence in Italy, and it's been
Mm-hmm.
endemic.
There's a lot of violence in the whole world. Anywhere you're going to have teenagers, you're going to have violence.
We get to a new level where we can't staff, and I'm talking as Italians, they can't field a military. Their navy is shit. They don't have a lot of ships out there floating. They don't have a lot of rangers. They don't have a whole lot of fighting force because kids beat each other up and stab each other to death from 15 to 25. They'd rather do that than join their own service military. They'd rather do this other thing for family instead. And just so you guys understand, this is what Janet was talking about. See that? She's got, oh, well, they folded her sleeves. Look at that. I look at that, and that looks like a big pink vagina. I'm not sorry.
Well, you can think that if you want, but it looked purple to me. She looks like she's wearing a purplish outfit, and it's her sleeves.
I'm a pervert. I don't care.
And they're trying to make her look elegant because she's wearing her, her finest clothing.
She is
to be
elegant.
buried in. And just like I said, and that was one of the things I liked about this movie is the fact that they let even the richest people rewear the same outfits on different days, because really back then clothing was very expensive, and they didn't have a lot of outfits.
I love the costuming in this movie. I really do. I think this movie.
Oh, hi, Kathy.
Kathy's there.
Welcome.
I agree with Summer. Lady Horse for the win. Yes, we all love Lady Horse, or at least I did. Now I'm married. Flady,
yes,
Flady, you have no idea how happy I am to see you. After this weekend, we got a chance to play together on Saturday, and we had a chance to talk last night. I really hope you have a good week, man. I'm going to have a good week. I feel sorry for my boss, but this is something that's been building up for a while. Hamlet, Mel Gibson is the best rendition of any Shakespeare play. It's also the longest play ever. Was it Shakespeare who also did Caligula with Helen Mirren, or am I confusing that with Penthouse?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Midsummer Night's Dream had Kevin Kline in it. Michelle Pfeiffer is Tatiana. Othello, or Chimes at Midnight, as Falstaff. Passion of the Christ was rough. It is a very rough movie. It's not an easy movie. Dramas and tragedies from Miro has fallen in comedies with me for Shakespeare. I have no idea why. Bush says it's not a documentary. It's a culmination of the greatest story ever told. I will never read A Song of Ice and Fire. I looked at it. I thought, well, that sounds interesting. And then other books kind of came out later, but they were staggered out. Other writers were writing 3 or 4 books at a time, and this guy could barely get through one book in every 5 years. Hard pass. Sorry.
Well, I wish I hadn't started reading them, because if I'd known he was never going to finish, I wouldn't have started.
You know, you could finish them, but the way you have to do it is you have to read up to the current novel, and then you have to go back 4 years to whenever they ended the series, that terrible ending that they did. You have to find Doomcock's video. Doomcock. God bless Doomcock. That man, all hail Doomcock. All hail Doomcock.
Future leader of Earth.
The future leader of Earth. And me. I love that guy. He's such a good man. He really is. And he's a very talented creator. I wish him the best. He has the best rendition of how to end A Song of Ice and Fire. And he has this little mental movie that he kind of laid out for us in a video. He explains all the steps and how all the characters go through their arcs and how some of them pass. But he has the best version I've ever heard for anything for Game of Thrones. And it made me sad that only 3% of the readers of Game of Thrones might ever hear how that could turn into a very well-ended series.
Mm-hmm.
But 3% is not a lot of us. And as much as I'd love everybody to be Doomcock subscriber, it's not going to happen. I like Doomcock. I think he's far more talented than what the rest of us deserve. And Bush says, Artax! Somebody get involved.
Yeah, we're going to do that movie one day.
We are. Bush McFadden's right. Janet from Another Planet's quite the music.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, you are. Your sister.
Yes, she forced you to watch it again.
It's not a bad movie. It's just not nearly my favorite movie with Luc Besson at the helm. He's not the helm. He's a producer of that film, I think. No, wait, he did direct that, I think. I know he was an either producer or director for Fifth Element. He was really based off of Valerian, the City of a Thousand Planets, and then he made the movie Valerian, A City of a Thousand Planets, which I have yet to see. But I've never heard me talk about that movie in a positive light, kind of like Jupiter Ascending. Midsummer Night's Dream with Christian Bale was fair. Different genre, not fair. All right. Well, Janet, I want to know your score.
A 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
What's your... You had some things that you were saying could possibly make the movie go down. What was that?
You mean get worse? Get a lower score?
What were just the things that you noticed that you thought maybe editing would have fixed or something?
Well, there was a few things about the some of the other characters that I didn't agree with. I didn't like the portrayal of his best friend. You know, the one who died in the street. Even though I knew he was going to die and everything, something about the guy they got to play him, I just didn't. I had a really hard time feeling that he would be his best friend. That one person, the person that portrayed that character, to me was not the best choice. I had a hard time with him.
Is there a particular reason as to why you might feel that way? I mean,
I don't know. It was just the way he portrayed the character. At the very beginning, when they were in the dark alley all together, and he was like telling the story, and I was laughing and stuff along with him, that he did really good on that. But then after that part, he seemed to go to be more nuts instead of fun. Yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, he didn't seem like he was mentally grounded.
Yeah, he was like mentally unstable. And to me, I don't remember his character being that way. I saw his character as being flamboyant and very manly, and when his point of view on things, from what I remember when I read the story, I didn't think of him as mentally ill. And this guy, the way he portrayed the character, made me feel like he was like one step from the edge of jumping off a roof. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but that's where I kept going with him. This actor portraying that character, that's where I saw, and I didn't like that part.
I'm just kind of shocked you have that.
Well, what did you think about his part?
I thought his Mercurio was pretty. I don't think it was a negative rendition of it. I just didn't think of anything. It was pretty just milquetoast. But I wasn't really watching a movie for Mercurio. I know how he's going to pass on in this night. And
well, I knew the story that he was going to die, but it was the way that the actor portrayed him that made me feel more, instead of him being headstrong, not wanting to back down from a fight, that stuff, like a virile young teenager would act. He seemed more like he was unstable and that he was like bipolar or something like that by the portrayal of this, the way that this actor portrayed this character. So that took me out of who I thought he should be to something I didn't think I just didn't feel like that actor was the right person for that character in this movie.
That very may well be the case. I wasn't looking for him to be a stud. There's a character in the play Grease that everybody loves, and usually whoever plays that character turns into like the next leading man, but he's kind of a bit character with an Italian suit in the Grease play, and I forget the character's name, but you see this all the time when the Grease plays come out. The high school productions, they will trot out this kid as a young Italian boy, and the next big play the school does, he's the lead because of his portrayal of the little Italian stud. And I just never felt when I read Romeo and Juliet, or I've watched other renditions of it, that Mercurio was anything but just like, this is a sign of things to come. His death signifies the end of Act 1. And at that point, we go into Act 2. And that was all that I've ever really felt about it. He for me.
See, I'm way different. Whenever I look at any character, I try to pay attention to anyone that's got a part in a movie that's supposed to push me into this direction or that. I try to watch their arcs. Okay. I can't help this. That's just how I look at it. And his arc started out funny as the center of attention. He was a storyteller. He made things big and dramatic. He got people riled up or he got them sad, almost like a bard would in a game.
He's
right?
a bard. That's what he is.
Yes, I know.
I'm so
like,
happy
that's what I'm
to see
saying.
that.
Okay, now I saw that, but the thing is, he did good at the very beginning, but as he went along, instead of me thinking him as jovial, like trying to put the words in there, but I just can't figure them out. It's the fact that I felt like instead of being there, to me, it pushed it to borderline. But like if he was up on the roof, he would have, at that one moment before Romeo calmed him down, that he was ready to leap off the building and kill himself. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
to me, that took me out of his character. I was like, that's too far. He's not the character. He is overplaying as an actor to make the character be something he's not supposed to be, in my point of view. That's all I'm saying.
I've always felt that Mercurio was just the bard, but nobody told him he's a second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons bard, which sucks. And that proud tradition of the bard sucking continued into 3.5 and even a little bit of Pathfinder. But the bard has always been like the support guy, that he will do nothing much more than just provide a distraction, and then later a convenient corpse for you to be angry about and have your vengeance upon thee. And that's it. That's Mercurio.
But he was Romeo's best friend.
He's a good bard. He died.
No, I know, but I was trying to look for in this movie a person that was such a good friend with Romeo that he would kill for him. He would kill for him. If somebody killed him, he would try to kill him, just like what Romeo did. And Romeo lived up to his character because he wanted to fight the guy that took his best friend's life, right? But to me, the scene where he was trying to show him that, I understand where you're coming from and love will come, that you will one day find the love of your life. You'll fall in love, blah, 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 blah. All of us will, basically, is what their whole, the conversation was. But he seemed nuts, not love strong or love lorn or sad because he wasn't ever going to find a woman to love him. He seemed nuts. Okay. That to me, that isn't where I should have went. He shouldn't have took me there by his portrayal of the character. See, that took me out of the character. So to me, that dropped it down a little bit because to me, that wasn't the right person for that part. But that's just my point of view. You can love him all you want.
I look at bards the same way that, like, I look at a
To you, he wasn't that important, but to
No,
me, he was.
support.
He's the reason why Romeo kills someone. You see what I mean? He's a
Yes.
very important character.
He is.
Romeo
And even
was
mentions it.
cast out of the city. He had to run for his life because he killed for his best friend. And his best friend was not a very good character. So it ruined that part for
he's
me.
not a very good character. He's running with this band of fops. And
No, I don't mean that way. I don't mean a headstrong guy that got in a fight because of him being told being made embarrassed or put down. You see what I mean? That wasn't it. It was the fact that he was nuts, that he overacted his part so much to me that it made him look like he was more crazy and not just a guy that likes to beat his chest and show his ass. I don't know. I can't explain any different than that. That's the best I can explain. But that's why. That's one of the reasons why I can give it a higher score. A 9.5.
As a man who beats his chest and shows his ass all the time,
well, see, that's typical of a man. A man with a lot of testosterone is sometimes going to show his ass or butt chest with another guy because he's like tempting him to take the first swing, that kind of thing. That's what I was expecting from him, but I didn't get that. I got a guy that was totally goony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was ready to leap off a building. That isn't a guy that's ready to butt chest with a guy and duke it out. That's a guy that just is like, wee, he should have a straight jacket on.
Sorry.
That's what I was thinking. So that ruined it for me. That I don't know, something about his acting, the way he portrayed that character made me think that instead of the opposite of what I thought I should feel for him.
Yeah.
And for somebody to kill someone over him, I just didn't think that was the right reason to do it because he was nuts.
You're out there. I like Doomcock's fashion sense. I need to get me some classy threads. Oh. Valerian was this is the comment that I hear all the time about Valerian City of 1,000 Planets. The Fifth Element is closer to the Valerian story than the Valerian movie is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Doomcock. I kind of moved on for him a little bit from him, but I still like listening to him from time to time. Not a whole lot. Curio, yeah. He involved himself, and he lied, and he was an ass. And he fucked around. He found out, but he was loyal to his clan. He's also a recurring character in a lot of content. He's a token good guy who dies in Act 1 to show the story is getting very serious now. Absolutely. Biggest issue with the movie is it doesn't hold the true vision from a Gemini AI, which tells me the whole cast is black, redheaded, transhuman, lesbians. That is true, but they also need to be in wheelchairs. Mm-hmm. And we need to have OSHA go and make this the city safe because there's too many stairs without railings. Yeah, he agrees with me. Curio's a bard. Yes, it's what he is. Janet, have you ever seen the original Dungeons and Dragons movie from 2001?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I have a new bad movie to show you.
No, I have not. I told you that when I went and saw the Dungeons and Dragons, and everybody said, "Oh, don't waste your money." What about it? I said, "Well, I'm going to go see it. I saw the preview for it, and it looked really good, and I loved it. I loved it. I was at the end. I was standing up and clapping. I was so happy. I made Sandy go with me. It was wonderful, and I was telling you about it, and I loved the fat dragon. I just loved so much about it. It was so exciting. It was so much fun because it was like, and remember how excited I was? I said that you and me and the rest of our group could start like a game or whatever and do like a Renaissance fair, but do it with gaming and make a giant board, and we have big dice and we roll them around and we compete against each other dressed in costumes and stuff. Remember, I had this whole thing.
Had this idea.
I was so excited after going to see the movie about bringing our game to life and actually play it in real time. Write a game that real people can play against each other on a great big football field with giant dice to roll and stuff. I said, "Oh my God, wouldn't that be fun?" To sell tickets and stuff for that.
I love what Bush says here. Romeo's a bitch boy. That's why Mercurio is his best friend. Romeo's just a little bitch made nigga, and his friend was a flippin' bard.
Oh, nuh-uh. That's not what it was supposed to be like.
It's an opinion.
Yeah, I know it, but I'm just saying no. For me, that isn't what I saw. But if you want to believe that, that's okay.
I will agree with this. Romeo is a simp. He doesn't understand the relationships between men and women. Like men should be impressed
But
with
he's not a man.
No, he's
They're
not.
boys. See, he's a boy and she's a little girl. They're 13 and like 15 or 16 years old. They're kids, okay? And from what I could tell, this guy that is his best friend, but he's older than him. So and he's got he's got a bad attitude on love. He's got a bad attitude on life and, things like that. And he says a lot of things and gets other people riled up, but he can also say things and get people ready for battle, all those things. He's one of those people that can get people pumped up or he can make them sad. He was one of those, just like I said, that's why he was like the bard, but he wasn't really a bard. He was like someone that got loose from the insane asylum and running around.
Well,
that's where I started putting him after a couple scenes. I was like, he's not, he's going to die for this guy when the guy is nuts. He's dying for someone who's making bad decisions, not because he's a macho guy that likes to fight and tussle and stuff. He's doing it because he's nuts. It's two totally different characters. And that's what I got from it.
I will say that it was funny to see the Italians wearing the tight pants, the tight yoga pants and the cups. And then like the fight scenes were kind of like just, we all shove each other around and the camera goes a little bit crazy. Like it's a crappy, Jason Statham movie, and I just said that because I hate Jason Statham fight scenes. I will never like a Jason Statham fight scene unless somebody actually lets the fucking camera run without it being quick edited.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking hate that shit. But I
know, and you don't like Liam Neeson either. When he jumps over fences.
He jumps a fence in 37 cuts. I mean, fuck.
Well, that's editing. That is not the actor. That's
well, if you watch it in one continuous steady shot, Liam Neeson and I could race up a fence together and you would die.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you could see the one continuous shot, it might be pretty good. But see, you're not going to get to see it because the editor chopped it all to bits. See, that's what I'm trying to say. That's why editing can ruin anything. A bad editor is almost always the reason why most movies are bad. At least in my point of view.
Internal weakness, I would say his youth and naivety. That's the problem. Oh crap! I watched the wrong movie. I watched Love Story.
No, that's why I was laughing at her. I said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh well."
I like the new D&D movie. Isn't great. It's just not bad. For me, it's a 60% movie. I like parts of it. I don't agree with like okay, this is the first time I've ever in a movie looked at Michelle Rodriguez and watched her try to act. She tried to emote for the first time in 20 years of watching her since Cat Fight or Girl Fight, whatever that one was. To now, that was the first movie I've ever seen her act, and she was pretty okay. Mm-hmm. There are parts of the movie that are kind of there's some editing issues. I think if you look at the movie too closely, you're like, wait, what? But it's not a bad movie. Mm-hmm. And then I get warned, do not do that to Janet. Do not make Janet watch the 2001 Dungeons and Dragons film. And
I'll watch it as long as it isn't that one Willy's whatever.
Where is Willy's Wonderland? I saw
Willy's Wonderland. As long as it's not that, I'll watch
Willy's
it.
Wonderland? You don't want to watch Willy's Wonderland?
I already watched enough. That's all I need. And I'll give it not even 5 points. It's so bad. It's the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't even watch but 15, 20 minutes of it at the most.
The action's fun and story's pretty okay. Like he says the story was great. I think it's 60%. It's not it's a positive more than a negative. OG D&D was on free smart TV the other day. It's very difficult to watch. I need people to riff it with if I'm watching OG D&D. Yeah, you do, and that's kind of one of the reasons why we have the Sunday viewing experience, so we can riff. If you want to riff, I don't give a shit. Riff. Just don't have a shitty connection. And I apologize because at one point my sound was cutting out. I'm sorry. Bush Faden, they're middle aged, Janet. Yes, we're both middle aged. If we raise up a fence, you will die of old age trying to watch us. Bone! How you doing, sir?
I know, I said hello to him.
Yeah, this is a good movie to watch. I'm rating this movie an 89 out of 100.
That's
I
really good
I think
for you.
89 out of 100 is as close as I can get for being accurate. This film, it's got the best scenery I've seen in a film,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to say of all time, but they did everything so fucking right. They got the costumes, the music for a 1968 film is not going to be the music I want to listen to, but and the reason why I say that is that the bass and treble is always off in the older films. I'm sorry. Watch 1951's The Thing from Another Planet, and you'll understand what I'm saying. They don't do bass in the early films, so it's a pretty okay soundtrack. They've for back then it was probably really good. My mom loved the soundtrack. My mom and I do not agree on music. Mercurio's a fucking bard. Bruce nailed it. I didn't mean to do that. I did that, and he loves to start fights and sing while people hurt each other. Janet, that's what Mercurio. That's him. He starts shit and laughs, and others fight and sing songs. Yeah, that's Mercurio.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, but he's a bully because he's got too much testosterone, stuff like that. A bully isn't always crazy. This guy, the way he acted this character made him seem crazy, over the top.
Snatch is superior to Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, but I still like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Snatch is a great film, though.
I haven't seen that one.
Sneaky fucking Russian. Mandy is better, Janet. Ooh.
Who's Mandy?
You have to explain to her. You must meet me, the big dick. And either side you got your balls. And the fact that your guns say replica on the side, and mine says Desert Eagle 50. Willy's Wonderland is not a movie for you, Janet from Another Planet. It's made for fans of Five Nights at Freddy's, and this should precipitate you vacating the space. Now, fuck off. Oh, pull up your socks. Pull up your socks! Okay. So, I think this movie is really good. Janet and I, we both really liked it. I like watching it again. I just hadn't seen it since I was a young boy. Literally a young boy. There's not a whole lot of negativity I have for the film. There's a few scenes where Olivia Hussey, ever the actress, is doing something and she starts to get the bibbles, and so she hides her face because she's trying not to laugh on camera.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see this movie's like behind the scenes footage of them just kind of romping around together, talking, eating food, or like trying to get ready for the next scene, or they've wrapped a scene up and like somebody just like starts laughing, or somebody farts on camera, because that happens a lot. I would love to see that. I think this movie would have an epic B-roll of bloopers. I think it would be probably one of the best B-rolls out there. It's a shame that this movie is being dragged through the mud, especially by the leading lady. And I don't know why. I don't know why she decided to do that. Maybe she's needing money for her kids' fentanyl rehabilitation. I don't know. But this is a very good movie, and I don't know why you would want to drag it through the mud. This is the equivalent of George Lucas telling everybody that Star Wars Episode 4 was just a fucking pet project, and he didn't know what he was doing. He did it as a lark, and he didn't mean to hurt everybody's feelings. That's what it is. Game is fun for Friday nights, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's actually a broader audience than Nicolas Cage movie. There's a really good short film called The Hug, and you can find it on a lot of different services, but I recommend The Hug over Five Nights at Freddy's or Willy's Wonderland or Banana Splits.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the last girl guy in a movie. We are going to take a week break, I think, because next week I have training. Or no, wait.
Yeah, go down one. That's what I wrote on there.
The week of the 9th, I have a new schedule, or the week of the 10th, I have a new schedule starting on the 11th, and
Mm-hmm.
I've got to do some new things for my job. I'll be
His
doing
new
12-hour
job.
days. Yeah, I've got a new job starting. I can't ignore it as much as my current boss wants me to stay at this job. He can't equal it. I don't think he can, because the moment he starts giving me the directions of like, here's how you make the money you would have made at your new job on day one, I would have been like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Well, the thing is, you have been over backward with this boss that you have right now, trying to get him to make the right decisions, but he didn't. And now I told you, as soon as you tell him, he's going to say, "Oh, I don't want to lose you. I'll give you more money." He's going to
yeah,
start trying
of
to keep
course.
you. But, it's too late. I mean, he's never listened to you before, and now he's going to say he's gonna.
Yeah, and that
So,
it's beyond me, and I don't think it's really about me. I really don't. I don't think it's really about me. The fact I'm probably his best pump driver he's ever had.
mhm,
It's not about that. It's the fact that his son rejected him, and his son said, "I'm going to go to school and I'm going to become a marketing executive
mhm,
instead of being a qualified plumber." And he's good at plumbing. Like, you can watch the old videos of his dad doing pipe work and watching his son, go through things. And his dad was really proud, and his son's going to be the next owner of the company. And his son just was like, "I'm done. I'm not going to work as hard as you. I don't need that." And the son makes like 1/3 of the money. He's like the rest of us under $100,000 a year folks, and he's got a lot of
mhm,
college debt. He's got a new pretty wife that she's dumber than a box of rocks. And I think my boss is just upset because his son isn't going to take over, and he's 60 now, and he thought I was going to be a partner in the business. And partners don't inherit businesses. I hate to tell you.
Yeah,
Uh,
but partners work side by side, and everything that I remember, just in the time I've known you, a little over a year, uh, he's never seemed to take your side on anything. So that's
no,
not a partner.
no, that's not.
So
He's a
yeah,
dictator, and I get that.
you need to be somewhere where you're treated with respect that you deserve, and get paid for the work that you do. And you have that opportunity now where it's going to open so many doors for you and your wife to be able to make decisions that you wouldn't have been able to make before. And, he should have thought of that when you kept trying to talk him into it, but he didn't. So, you know, it's not on you. It's on him. He was the owner of a business,
Yeah,
and he
and
chose not to do the right thing. And that's not on you.
not really.
So I understand what you're doing, and I think you're doing the right thing.
Papa Cotton, I'm going to have to do something on my channel, because there's, for some odd reason, you're having problems posting over there, and I'm sorry about that. Good to see you here, though.
Yeah, he's on my thing, I think.
That's
Hi.
fine. Love seeing him here. He's a good guy. He hangs out with a good group of people, a nice little bunch of spicy people. But this is not the end. We are going to reassess once I get my new schedule, and I believe it's going to be, we're going to still watch the movies on Sundays in probably Discord,
Mm-hmm.
or if not Discord, be Gilded. One of those two. Right now it's Discord. We didn't have that many problems until later last night. Oh, Crafting Gamer member for 4 months, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you. You don't have to do that. You and Flady and everyone else, it's part of the memberships. I had a couple big spikes there, and then, like, I understand how things rise and fall, and it's great. I appreciate you guys, and I don't ask for you guys to do that. There's really good curators out there that they need more than I do, and I want you guys to.
Well, can you do me a favor? Can you show on here uh, how well we've done on some of the movies that you've had on your channel, the number wise? Like
Sure.
the newest one, I told you that the other night. Was it Blast from the Past that was doing really good?
This, I don't know what you did to it, Janet, but there was something you presented in your we did this movie review last week,
Mhm.
and ever since we pushed this out, it's got almost 3.4 thousand views. That
Mhm.
might not be a lot for some people, but for me,
For us, that's good.
yeah, for us, that's good. This
Mhm.
is really a big fucking this is really a big movie. This is a movie that more people need to see, and I'm going to stand by that for a long time.
Mhm.
I love Alyssa Silverstone. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's absolutely crazy too, so don't stick your dick in it, kids. But she's wonderful to watch. She's a great actress. She tries. She's got her own line of nutraceuticals out there that she's trying to
Mhm.
help people live a healthier life. This is a great movie with Brandon Fraser. Brandon Fraser is one of my favorite actors of all time, mainly for the films that he did back in the 90s and early 2000s, the Mummy films, because
Mhm.
I've watched those movies longer than many of you have probably played your favorite video game. Those are movies I've watched more than anything else. And I say that sadly because I would like to watch Big Trouble in Little China more than any film I've seen. But The
Okay.
Mummy and The Mummy Returns, I've seen the most.
And the other two movies that have done really, really good. Do you have that information to share everybody? Because uh, all of these people that have been coming week after week are the reason why these movies have done so well. I think.
The most popular film I have on my channel,
I
live
push it
or
all the time. I keep trying to share it because it's my favorite movie of all time.
guy, a
I
girl.
love that movie.
Oops. 48,000 views.
Mhm.
That's kind of crazy. I'll dig it. I'll take it. Sure. But this is that's the most popular film we've done. The second
And
most
then
popular,
that one right there, The Raid 2, the other one.
yeah, The Raid Part 2, which I don't know why, but we got a lot of views on that. Got a lot of views on Blast from the Past. Bad Girls. That's a movie that
I told you I was going to keep sharing it and to get the numbers up because you hated it so much. You remember?
yeah, I hate that movie.
I know.
I'm sorry.
And then Tombstone's my second most favorite movie.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Then we had,
so that's good. I'm really happy. I think we've had a lot of fun. We've done some really good movies.
and I've got to say something for my channel, my brand, whatever you call it. I'm not really out here to make mugs or coolers or things with merch and my face on it. I paint miniatures and I talk shit. That's about it. I play D&D on Saturdays. I want to maybe pick up another table, because I've got some friends that they don't get to play, and I want to get kind of game. I really do. But on my live streams, my live channel, like, this is it. All of these aren't because of me. They're because of the friendship
Us.
me and Janet have fostered, and the group of people that have came and felt like we're some sort of funny family that hangs out for 3 hours at a time on Mondays. None of
Yeah.
these, up until the first 16 videos on my channel, the most popular ones are live. I think I have one video that actually is popular as hell, and that's the part 4 Rise of the Rune Lords that has 4.4 thousand views. And these are
Mhm.
all back when I lived in my little quaint apartment in Deer Creek, and I had space to sit 8 people at a table, on one side of my living room. It was the best living room ever. I miss that apartment. All of my friends that knew me then missed that apartment. And then we had a game store
Well,
downtown.
don't you still see all those people that you played that game with?
About 5 or 6 of them I bump into on YouTube, and the rest have got lives where they stay away from streaming life, and that's okay. And that's really okay because I still we still have, like, once every 6 months we see each other. Though somebody will give a comment in chat and like, hey, follow this link to Discord. We can talk or we can video chat. And they never do because they're like, Bruce, I like you, but not that much. Okay, fine. That's great. But the meat of this segment of YouTube, this foul-mouthed, horrible part of YouTube. The most popular stuff we've got on here is everything I've done with Janet. Okay, and then after that, we start going to other stuff like Gatekeepers, Pre-Gaming, Preparing, Girl Guide Movie, Powder, worst movie I can think of off the top of my head. Like there's worse movies I've seen, but Powder is like that infection that just doesn't go away. That's the herpes of fucking movies.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that
Face
movie.
herpes.
I can't stand that movie. I didn't like the movie whenever it was in theaters. I didn't want to see it then. Watching it, I thought like there was 7 minutes that was really good. Any part of it with Lance Hendrickson was great. The rest of that movie is absolute shit. I would rather spank off to photos of Lizzo eating out Whoopi Goldberg.
What about Hillary Clinton?
You could
Would
have
you rather do that?
Hillary Clinton could be given the finger to Lizzo's bonus hole. Okay. And I would rather watch that on an empty stomach or a full stomach, either or.
Oh my God, you're
Make this
killing
shit optional. Then watch another fucking minute of that miserable fucking movie Powder. And the fucking director of that movie, God, what a piece of shit he is. Okay. Now that I've got my venom out, I'm sorry, kid. It doesn't feel like there's something.
Oh, you kill me.
They get.
Yeah, this has been fun. We've been doing this a little over a year, right? Because we had our year movie thing after 60 something movies.
Yeah.
And it was been fun. I have really loved doing this on Mondays. It's going to be really weird trying to reorganize,
Janet, I believe I'm getting an evening shift. So if I am able to do this in the morning, we might have a different crew of people that come see us. And our other crew can at least post videos or post comments, in our comment section.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's okay. I'm just saying, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. It's just going to take us a few weeks until you get a routine of some sort, to know what we can do. Because, I'll just move my stuff around. But the thing is, we've had so much fun. I have looked forward to this week after week. I remember my very first interview with you. And when you asked me if I wanted to do something like this, I was so excited. And each week I'd say, oh, my God, thank you so much. This has been great. It's just been awesome. I've had so much fun. Just want you to know that. It's been an honor to me.
Oh, well, Janet, you've made every Monday night special. My wife loves watching us talk. My wife would rather us hang out on Monday night than me go talk to her or we do things with her on Monday, because after she gets done with work, the last thing she wants to do is be sociable with her husband. She wants
she just wants to relax.
She wants to relax. Like I bring her anxiety, and she's like, no. She's like, go hang out with Janet. Janet will let you cuddle on her. That's nice.
Yeah, I'll talk your head off.
So
I have no problem with that.
Grumpy, you don't have to say that, man. He gives us a 10 out of 10. Janet from Another Planet, Bruce. You keep me coming back, sir. We just have I think
just a bump in the road.
Yeah, it's just a bump in the road. That's all it is. Crafting Gamer didn't have to be a member for 4 months, but he was, and I really thank him. He sent me stuff, and I'm not saying that he has my friendship because he's bribed me. He got involved with me on Thursday nights, which I'm going to miss table breakers, but we're going to still do stuff when I can. And he's on my Saturday games for my Alpha series, but he sent me 2 figurines, and his barrel crab this is the barrel crab he painted up. And he's like, I want to see how you would do your barrel crab. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And so I kind of always go with the grimy brown Quake infused. Like, this is, I want this thing to, like, when we see it on the table, I want you to cough and belch up the shit, because, like, you can smell the petroleum, the oil that's leaking out of the bottom of it. I want you to, like, see all that crap. And I love that. And that, his barrel crab is kind of happy. It's got a, a really good palette of colors to it. It's
That's
very,
before it got tainted.
yeah. This is the barrel crab before it explores the
Yeah.
threesome with Hillary and Whoopi and Lizzo, and just I know Nancy Pelosi's over there and she's just drinking box wine, so we're a real classy bunch over here. Appreciate every single one of you that have been here with us the entire time. Bingo. She looks like a hot Mrs. Claus instead of Juliet. Yeah.
Oh.
I have a new schedule, not a nude schedule, Kathy. They sent him 99 cents. I don't know why. Somebody must have found a way, or they might have hiccuped and given people like a chance to like your video or give you thanks. And if you might want to look at your YouTube as just a viewer and see if there's like a thanks button, because they might have that. And you might be on their premature plan for being partnered. They're all talking about the good Brandon Fraser days before the screwing over. She got screwed over by Hollywood, not as bad as Brandon Fraser. He has beliefs Hollywood doesn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Best Western is Tombstone.
Yeah.
I love this gathering. This is a great assembly of friends and sometimes relatives, and I get a chance to be with you guys and be myself and be honest. And I don't mince words a lot of times. I probably should, but I've never been known for my tact, and I really do appreciate every one of you for showing up here tonight. For those of you who watch us on the back end, or even if you speed us up like 150% of normal speed and you still watch all the way to the end, you didn't have to do that, but thank you. We mean something. I know that sounds really weird, but I really appreciate you guys being here. We've got a bunch of good people in front of the chats and behind the scenes, and I have no regrets being here. I miss hanging out with my boys from Legion of Myth, but I know they're doing well, and I'm so proud of them for continuing on and doing what they do so well. And I want to hang out with them again soon. He says that because I was describing a bad sex act with Lizzo. Worse than
And
Bubble
Hillary
Boy,
Clinton.
Powder is worse than any movie. Bubble Boy is a pass.
Yeah.
Clinton, Pelosi, some tasty shit right there. Give us about a couple weeks after the week of the 10th. I'll be knowing what's going on further.
I'll let you know. I'll make sure you know.
Change comes for everybody. I hate to say it, but
We all have to change, people. Not easy, but we all have to go through some change in our life.
Grumpy, I appreciate you being here, and anytime you want to stream and do crafting, and I'm available.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll stream together, man. Flady, I hope that you enjoy your going through the old comics. If you're in our Discord and we have a part that's about books, Flady's in there talking about old comics from like 1968, 1969 era, and you're going to want to see just the amount of fanboy love that a man has for being able to open up a book and just be able to disappear into the pages and watch the story unfold and just enjoy it, because there's no agenda but telling a great story with good characters. And being able to read that, it makes me kind of want to go across the street to Dragon's Lair and go order some omnibuses, because I think that'd be the best way for me to do that. But I want you guys to know that we appreciate every one of you here. You didn't have to come for all this, although we appreciate you being part of this. March 4th, I'm on schedule to be doing my certain schedule that we've got right now. So I just have to say, for this moment, we are scheduled to do the full Monty from 1997. If things change, we will let you guys know. But next Monday, we'll be doing the full Monty, and there will be discussion of that film, which I have yet to see, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's never seen it, so I'm excited about him getting to watch it.
This
It's
was
a
the
good
last
movie.
movie.
Mhm.
This was our last movie we did on the romance side of things, since Janet
Mhm.
allowed me to talk about Philip K. Dick, which he's a very talented writer, and I love his work. He's had a lot of adaptations into film and TV series. A lot of the things we watched this last month in January were not the highest tier of material. I want to save some of the stuff I really like for later, but the more well-known things like Minority Report, Blade Runner, everybody knows. Blade Runner, this is the first time I've looked at that movie really objectively, and I saw warts on it for the first time. Now, mind you, I still love that movie. I still
Mhm.
absolutely adore every aspect of that film, except for when Ridley Scott goes back to the well and tries, oh, let me change it.
Mhm.
Stop fucking touching it. Right? You made a good thing. You made a good thing. Just stop fucking touching it. But that's my perspective. Like, I rate the theatrical cut higher than the director's cut, and definitely higher than the final cut. Both of the director's cut and final cut are great movies in their own right. They're both works of art. But for me, the theatrical cut's where it's at, because you have all the things that went together and made the movie exactly what it is. And I'm willing to talk about that movie again, because that's a movie that was part of my childhood growing up. My dad had me watch that movie, and I fell in love with it. So whenever I get home from school in the morning, I'd watch this and I would devour into it, because it was like going downstairs on a train set, but instead of the train set, I can like watch a cyber city or whatever you want to call it, a futuristic sci-fi movie, and it's done
Mhm.
right. And that just spoke to me. So that's why I got into this shit here. That movie, that that movie is why I got into these stupid things right here, and I love it. That's why I paint as much as I do, because maybe one of these days I'll be inspired to script something out and I'll do something silly and stupid, and you'll see me do these little character voices with these miniatures. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe on Saturdays you'll swing by and you'll see a camera sitting at level on the table facing up to the miniatures as they talk with the players, and Bruce is doing different voices, because that's what they're really for. But Blade Runner is the impetus. That was the charcoal put on the fire as to this blaze that Bruce has for love of miniatures. That is the reason why I do this. And so Lady's like, you should try some stop motion with voiceover. If stop motion didn't take me like years to do for like a 40-second video, I'd be more than happy to
Mhm.
do it. Stop motion takes a lot of time. I've seen people do stop motion and they'll have weeks disappear to get 10 seconds of quality footage. And I love the art. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But I want to paint miniatures, and I got to write this damn RPG. The RPG book I'm looking at, and the less that's in the player's handbook, the more that's in the DM's handbook is going to be better, because the DM is the one that provides the options. Uh, Once the players get somewhere and they can figure out what they can do, the options should be in the DM's hands to, okay, here's your 7 options, or here's your 12 options, or here's your 13 options. I want that. I don't want a game that just like everything all at once, and therefore you can optimize and Lego build your character. Nope, not going to do it. You want to do that, play 3rd edition or 5th edition or whatever edition, but not my edition. I
Mhm.
know I'm a power trip. Um, Six Nations, 31 Kings. This is not the end, sir. We are going to do a lot more hanging out, socializing on Saturdays. We are still doing our game every other week. We have the Alpha Group, and I'm loving that campaign because of how organic it is. I don't really worry about things. I just let you guys make your decisions, and you guys provide me a story. Uh, there's combat. There's certain things that are probably going to happen if you are there, but man, I love the way it all works. So isometric 3/4 view dungeons are the way of the future. Oh God, really? Janet, what do you have
Mhm.
coming up on your channel? Because I know you are a creator.
Yeah, I'm just have the shit show Friday night, and then us playing Saturday.
Well, for a sneak peek, we're going to find out how this story ends. But the New York Times just put a story out there about the 12 secret bases the CIA has in the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And this story just came out, and fucking Putin and the brass and the Russian military are kind of pissed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should talk about that Friday night. We will.
Yeah, that's what I said. Anything you want to talk about, just have your stuff ready to share, and we can talk about it. Because I had put a few things about Laura Logan's interview. Did you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, well, that kind of stuff I've shared. I've got bookmarked on X so that we can bring it up and talk about that too. So I told you we're not going to run out of any shit to talk about. There is just no way, not during this administration.
No, we're not.
Never going to be a boring week. We're always going to have plenty of shit. So, just bring it. I tell all of them, you and Ruben and Orange Hat to just, bring whatever links. And before we start, we'll talk about which ones we'll start with, and we'll just go to town because I love it. I love talking about politics. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, even though I may not know a lot. I'm willing to learn as much as I can because we got to do something to save our country. I'm very passionate about it.
I love your optimism.
Mm-hmm. Well,
save what
that's all we have.
Yeah,
that's all we got. And you know how I feel about the what we're on right now. This channel, it doesn't like me that much because I post things they don't like, and I'm nobody. I'm just a teeny tiny channel. I don't really have any influence, but apparently people like you and I that believe in freedom and fairness for everyone, all that stuff, we are the enemy for some reason.
And that's fine.
But I'm still going to voice my opinion. I mean, I followed the rules. They told me I had to take a survey because I'm a cyber bully. Well, I took their dumb survey. Okay. And I'm trying to be good. And I'm not going to post any more videos like that until after I get at least one of my strikes taken down. Because if I don't follow the rules, I won't be able to be Janet from Another Planet anymore. They'll take my name down. And I'll lose it. I'll have to start with something different. And I don't want to do that. I like Janet from Another Planet. My name is Janet, and I want to keep it. So I'm going to be good girl for a little bit till I can, as good as I can. And I'm using X to do all my, Six Nations is over there sometimes. He's coming to a few of the spaces that I've been in. Yeah. He knows how verbal I can be. So, well, can't help it. I just am very passionate about stuff. Oh, and Papa Cotton, he's seen a lot of my stuff. So there's a few that come in that know exactly what I'm talking about. So I can't help it.
Before we leave, there might be some friends of ours that are streaming right now. I know a lot of people like Comics Division, and I like Comics Division. I mean, I got Dick's Division from him. He didn't really give it to me. I just kind of took it because I'm a dick, and that's what it is. But our good friend Clobby is streaming right now, and if you guys, if you Clobbering Times is streaming, so I'm going to put the link in the chat, and if you guys want to go watch another man that has a love for great media, there you go. If you want to say Bruce Lombardo raid or Janet from Another Planet raid.
Yeah, let's go. When we leave this, let's everybody go over to Clobby and say hi. At least stop in and say hello. And we just left a girl that got in a movie, or Janet and Bruce's stream or whatever, and we're coming in to crash you or whatever. That'd be fun.
I would love it if you guys learned who Clobby was. If you don't know him, he's an old comic book owner or comic shop owner.
Yeah, in New Orleans.
He's owned his own shop. He didn't work at one like another friend of ours. He owned one, and he's great. And this is one of the guys that I look to. We we talked about, before we go over there, we talked about Flash Gordon last week on Nick's 32 Flavors of Toxic Tuesday. And I was wanting to talk about The Greatest Story Ever Told, which is a Flash Gordon cartoon from 1982, which was supposed to be out in 1979, but because Lou Scheimer talked real nicely to somebody to get money for Dino De Laurentiis to do this Flash Gordon movie, NBC saw the vision that Dino had, and they shelved the movie cartoon for later, and they said to Lou Scheimer, just give us a Saturday morning cartoon, we'll be happy. And Scheimer's like, I got the greatest Flash Gordon story ever. Well, that's the greatest story ever told. Flash Gordon is on YouTube. And if you want that, I'll put it up in my Discord as a viewable movie. It's great. But I need you, if you guys haven't seen that, check it out sometime because it'll bring back some 80s goodness to you. And Clobby agreed with me. It's one of the best versions of Flash Gordon we're ever going to have. Even though it's a cartoon, you got Robert Ridgely there as the main voice, and he does such a good job as Flash. But we're going to wrap this up, and I want you guys to have a fun time, a good night, and I want to see you again. I definitely want you to see me again. I love it if we panel together. If you see me in a chat, if I don't say hi first, say hi to me. I want a conversation. Or I might not be as big on YouTube as other people, but that's fine. Come say hi to us. Our Discord's right here for mine. Let me grab Janet's real quick because she's got a very fun Discord as well. And I recommend if you want to hang out with a bunch of guys and girls that are just fun, Janet's Discord is about as rambunctious as mine is.
Well, I don't have a naughty girl room.
Hey. If you want to put,
I don't have a naughty boy room either. Maybe I should open one.
you could. You should.
But I don't have lots of girls. If I had lots and lots of women in there, maybe I could do that, but I don't. Yeah. So maybe I can get Ultra Gay Dad to come in there and open a room. That might be fun. But we'll see.
The best YouTube is on the small channels. I agree with this so much.
Yeah, that's where I hang out. I hang out mostly small channels. They get way, way big. Doomcock's, I think, the biggest channel I follow. But I adore Doomcock. He makes me laugh. Makes me happy when I go to his channel. And I enjoy it. I enjoy his content. Hi, Jerry. We're about to be done. But thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate it.
So anyway, the link for Clobby's live stream. I love seeing Clobby get big. He's one of the best guys out there. He's got Mark D with a C. He has Raquel with him and sometimes as well. They're great stuff. Go ahead and click this. Girl, a guy in a movie raid. God bless you all. Have a great night. We're going to see you again next week. So far, we're going to be doing the full Monty. So unless things change, we'll see you then. But for now, this stream is at its end at 3 hours and 2 minutes. Every one of you, please be well.